Hey everyone, hope you're well. Arya here. So this podcast was actually originally recorded back in the beginning of May. That means some of the conversation is a little bit out of date. Sorry about that. Things to note in particular are that Guilty Gear Strive still hadn't been delayed to early 2021 due to COVID, and ArcSys still hadn't given their response to the beta feedback. Anyway, bearing all that in mind, hope you enjoy. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Fighting Words. A lot to discuss, and I'm really, really glad to be joined by none other than Majin Obama.
What's up?
Hey, man. And BeautifulDude.
How you guys doing? What's up?
Cool. So, as we all know, recently, Guilty Gear Strive Beta had some kind of polarizing opinions. So we're going to talk about that, to put it mildly. And we're going to talk about that and GranBlue versus. Just the general direction that ArcSys has been going on for the past maybe year. And what that bodes for the future. And not just ArcSys, but fighting games in general. So, I mean, I guess let's just jump into it. Guys, what did you think of the Guilty Gear Strive Beta? What are your thoughts?
Julian, talk to him. Go.
It was when I stopped playing it, right? So when I stopped playing, I was like, I had a lot of fun, right? And then I was talking to my friend about it. He told me, did you have fun because it was new, or did you have fun because it was a good game or it was enjoyable? And I paused. I paused. That made me think a lot. Just straight up, just put me in my tracks, like. And that was the big thing.
That's the big question. That's the big question.
And honestly, I'm leaning towards because it was a new game. It's just so much with it right now that just feels so strange, so weird, to say the least. And yeah, it was kind of fun to, mash chains of Axel, like just do things. Yeah, but when it comes to its actual core, I feel like there's a lot missing, at least when I was playing, from the usual what I would come to expect. I don't know how you were feeling, Majin, when you were playing it, because you were also playing Axel. But yeah, for me, it felt like something was missing.
The way I put it, I had fun in the same way I have fun playing Kuso games. I'm being real. Like,
yeah,
where I would play this, and this isn't necessarily even all Kuso games. Some of them are just so fun, I keep playing them, right? But for a lot of them, they're fun to play for like a few weeks. But it's not necessarily something for me I could see like playing my 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line.
Right.
It's not that kind of fun. Like he was saying, because it's new, right? It's new, you hop in, you're learning something. Of course, if you play fighting games, you're going to hop in, you're learning a new game. That's fun. That experience is fun. You wouldn't be playing these games if not. So, like, I had fun in that regard. I had fun in I definitely got the feeling of like, yeah, this is fun in like a Kuso game kind of way. Not in a legacy game kind of way, not in like a 6-7 year game kind of way, which is what I would have expected. That's how I felt coming off of that. I think in the end it was how I felt, because I couldn't even really answer it until the end, right? Because I felt like playing and I was like, it's pretty fun actually, and then I was like, by the end of the third day I was like, what kind of fun was that? And I realized I was like, it's that kind of fun. Not that kind of fun is necessarily bad, but it's a different kind of fun.
Exactly. It's that kind of fun. It's like, would you be doing that 3 years from now?
Are you cool playing this 6 years down the line?
Let's break this down. Like, there are lots of additions and mechanics, and well, not so much mechanics as mechanics being stripped away, but one of the most contentious points is the wall break mechanic. And I haven't really talked to anyone who entirely likes it. I guess the idea with the wall break is that one of the biggest criticisms for XR is that so many rounds end just with relentless corner pressure. Like, so many rounds end up with you being bullied in the corner. And I guess a lot of people were complaining about that. And ArcSys thought, well, let's just remove the corner entirely and just turn it into damage.
Because that's all the corner does in this game, really, in Strive. When you hit the corner, you can't set up any corner oki or corner pressure. Your reward for hitting the corner is damage and a bit of meter. But the game really is, by and large, all neutral, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And so many combos have absurd corner carry. It seems to be a thing. Like, every character has just like a move which they can use to just flip the other character all the way really easily from the middle of the screen to the corner. And well, guys, what do you think of it? What are your thoughts?
The wall break mechanic is strange. I can see what they were going for, right? They wanted it's like what you said. I feel like maybe the corner was too oppressive. Even though I feel like Guilty Gear had a lot of really great defensive mechanics, universal defensive mechanics to get out. You know, IB, FD, they're fantastic. If you use them in tandem, you can get out, and you have lots of chances.
Blitz too, you know.
Yeah, Blitz is great. You know, that's contention, but I personally like it a lot. You know, Blitz, and I feel like they just took all those out in favor of this mechanic that if you get hit much times, you'll just get out for free, and then you'll just be in neutral again. Which always felt like was so weird because there's no real indicator. I mean, it doesn't reset. The wall doesn't reset when you smack it. So it's just really jarring to me. It's. I thought at the very least maybe there'd be when you saw the tutorial videos that Zynak did. Bless him for doing that. So I thought maybe you can choose between knocking him down for less damage and doing corner oki, or breaking the wall and doing max damage. But it doesn't seem like that's the case.
There's no choice. There's no choice.
Yeah, there's no choice. And that's what kills me, is that there's no choice. You have to. You are forced to play a certain way. They want you to break the wall. And I think that's what really annoys me the most, is that it's taking your freedom of choice that you would usually have in previous Guilty Gears or other anime games. So that's what makes it so weird for me.
Yeah, I think that I agree with a lot of what he said, but also I think they looked at this mechanic as a way of achieving a lot of different things in one. So you give people, if they're just getting beat up in the corner, they eat a really big combo, you give them an out. It gives them another opportunity to kind of like show off like, scene transition stuff. That's something that other games have, DOA, Tekken, obviously. They can kind of leverage a little bit more of their aesthetic and art direction in that regard. It's another opportunity to reset the neutral, which is going to help, at least on paper, is going to help players. My thing is, I didn't like it because I thought it was really jarring. I think it's really kind of intrusive. I think one of the actual major complaints about Xrd is YRC slows down the game, right? That was initially, especially like going from XX to Xrd, that was a really big complaint that a lot of people had, was like, why is XX all about accelerating the game, but this game is slowing it down, Right. This is another instance kind of where it does that same thing, right? It was almost that intrusive to me. It's just very bad for like match pacing.
Yeah.
And something that I thought would have been cooler was, like what Julian said, choice. I think choice is, and that's an overall theme with the way I felt with Strive. Yeah. Like Julian said, they want you to get your hit, go to the corner, break the wall, get the meter bonus after. That's it. Like, that's the way you play, Yeah. There's a very, like, a kind of like a subtle hand guiding you in terms of how you're going to play the game. That is way more firm and way more omnipresent than I think previously felt.
For sure.
And I think that's kind of, and I think that, especially when you hear like legacy players talk about that's something that's going to come up in a lot of the discussion that I think might be kind of hard for people who are fresh or new to the series to understand. And if you don't have that previous experience, you won't understand that nuance. But if you know what you're missing, then it's not a very pleasant feeling. What I would have liked to have seen was the wall break mechanic to either operate off of, like he said, choice. You have the option of breaking it, or make it situational. I think there's a way that they can still do it and it's fine. But instead of, breaking the wall and having the character go into some Looney Tunes animation or some shit, what if it works as like, if you end the round on a wall combo, it triggers that cinematic for going into the next round. I think that would be a really smooth way of transitioning from round to round while still being able to leverage that aesthetic. However, I also heard another interesting theory from Problem Skater. He thinks with the way the combos are in this game and the way SMP works, it's like same move proration, right? So usually in games like these, where if you use the same attack in a combo a number of times, various values of that attack diminish with each use, right? So like stun, attack values, etc. What he said, and this got me thinking about it, it's possible that they didn't, because of the way the juggle system is in the game, it's possible that they wanted limited SMP, so they used the wall and the way that is as an infinite prevention.
Right.
So they force the break on you because maybe there isn't as much SMP in some attacks like that. So they give you the illusion of like kind of freeform combo making like that, right? But that wall break, it almost functions as an infinite prevention, which I thought was an interesting theory. I'm not smart enough to really understand that, but it got me thinking about it. Like, it's possible that they went that route. That's probably way more complex of an answer than I had to give. But, all right, go.
But the end result, the feel of it is, I think you nailed it when you said like the hand of the developer. It just feels very overbearing with this, because I felt like so many rounds, the pacing of them felt homogenized. Because a cool thing about fighting games is that some, if I think of XR or XX or, Tekken, some rounds can, zip, zap, zippity, boom, they're done in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they really drag out timer. But I feel like every single match in Strive had very kind of homogenized pacing. And it was forced on you because of the lack of corner. And no decent player would want to give up corner pressure for a bit more damage and some negligible meter gain, which is your reward for breaking the wall. No decent player would want to do that, but you're forced to do that. And I'm trying to think of justifications for why. I mean, perhaps it's the SMP reason, as you brought up, Obama. I think the real reason for the wall break mechanic is as I mentioned, is because corner was overbearing in XR, and they thought, okay, new players are having trouble with this, let's get rid of it. And secondly, just to force some quote unquote hype into the game, to constantly have the background changing dynamically. Yeah. I think that's the main reason, really. They just wanted to look cool on stream. And even really by the end of the third day, I was getting tired of that Looney Tunes animation. And I don't think it's a good animation. I would have preferred if they're like spinning more violently or something. I think it looks kind of janky at the moment.
Yeah, especially there are some good rounds I played where, there were three in the same round,
Yeah.
They hit 2, I hit 2, and then like, oh, well, here we go. There's like 4 of them. And
it doesn't help. It looks really weird. Like, it actually looks a little janky when you see them flying through the air.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. In all fairness, it is a beta, right? Maybe they're not completely finished with or something like that. But for sure, it's definitely like I definitely got the impression that it was kind of there for spectators. You know what I mean? The exciting, but like I was saying before, I think it covers multiple objectives for them, so it just made sense maybe from their perspective.
Yeah. A good question actually from Robocop 2 in the chat. I don't remember the XX series matches ending in the corner all that much, so I wonder what changed between the XX series and XR. So why do so many rounds in XR end in the corner? And XS, I felt, had a pretty decent balance. Like Strive, there is no corner, really. XR, the corner is, all pervasive. And XX hit that nice little middle ground, I think.
I don't know that that's necessarily true either. I don't really feel like there was really a difference in terms of ending in the corner, ending mid-screen with either one, to be honest.
I mean, the earliest Guilty Gear I played like competitively with Accent Core, and in that game you just died. So like sometimes you just exploded. Like in that game, like mid-screen, I had unblockables from mid-screen and you just exploded. Yeah, so I feel like maybe because in that game you just exploded. So
the way damage is maybe plays a role in that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Damage, maybe match pacing a little. Yeah, maybe so. But I never really even had that thought. I never really saw it that way, to be honest.
Yeah, I never felt like
I never really felt like Xrd like more rounds into the corner than any. It also might be because of the way some of the character designs are too. If you think about it, like new characters in Xrd, a lot of them are built to where they naturally push forward,
Right.
you know, on block or on hit. You know, they naturally are pushing forward the entire time. Think about the way Elfeld is. Think about the way Leo is. Those characters naturally have corner push, which is one reason why you know, Elfeld is really one of many why she's really good in the game. Thinking about that, I think maybe that could be a reason why maybe there's that perception. And then also, you know, think about a character like Elfeld. She is really good. Her obviously her Okizeme is very strong, right? So it can make sense that maybe you have that impression. You think about shotgun stance, you think about grenade. Maybe I can see people having that impression, but I never really thought about it that way. I never really saw it that way, to be honest.
Yeah, especially with all the defensive options, like we said before, in Guilty Gear, it's I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's definitely lots of opportunities to get out of the corner. Like even with Zato, like, you know, I be right and I super jump out of there. Like there's I don't know. I never felt it that way too.
I think it's one of those things where, and that's traditionally, I think, one way that the series is kind of misunderstood, where it has that aura of being like super difficult and just like the only people that play it are irritable old men who just want hard things. They don't like new people. But the truth is, I think that difficulty has been overstated for a long time. I think it's overstated. A lot of that stuff is, you know, it's probably overbearing if you try to learn it all at once. But if you go step by step and learn how each mechanic works, and then you slowly start to build the big picture. Like, it's a great feeling when you start to play matches and you have all those options and you can understand how they work and how they flow together. That, I think, is when you really start to see the beauty of the game with that.
Definitely.
And EXO had a pretty good tutorial as well to help teach all these.
I think that honestly, I'm just gonna be real. I think it's one of the more underappreciated games last generation. That tutorial, the way the mission mode and tutorial was set up. We'll talk about this a little bit later. I'm not sure that it's. I'm not sure that for new people hopping in or for a new player to fighting in, say that maybe it's the best approach to be like, hey, sit down and do these drills. But as someone learning the game, I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I love, like, you know, it was very like Virtua Fighter 4 Evo-esque, right? Where you sit down. All right, this is how this works. Now check this out. This guy's gonna do this to you. Do this.
Yeah,
just do it 5 times. You know
that in particular. I love the really specific matchup experience it drills into you. Which
it taught you general system, but the big thing was it taught you character specific matchups.
Oh yeah,
and some of those are really useful at the baseline. You know, that's why. I mean, dude, I love it because I legit I purchased the game for somebody to stream. And I'm like, just do the tutorial. I don't even have to do it. Just go play the tutorial real quick. See how you feel.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of the more underappreciated tutorials. I mean, I think the kind of the pinnacle of tutorials last gen were Xrd, Killer Instinct, and what else? I think French Bread did some good
Under Night, yeah.
So they had a good mission system.
The thing is with tutorials in this, man, it's I feel like we're like really close to a breakthrough here, man. You're seeing companies now take that challenge really seriously, and they're producing some really good stuff, man. You know, like, dude, if you think about Killer Instinct, Skullgirls, Under Night, Guilty Gear, in the tutorials that they produced in their most recent version, there's probably some other games I'm forgetting too, but I feel like they're starting to get now how to teach the core concepts for players, for people who play these games.
Sure.
The next, I think, Lego block is finding out how to teach all this stuff passively to somebody that does not play fighting games.
Oh yeah,
to rope them in, right? How to gamify that tutorial, how to make it not just a drill, but make it an engaging experience where somebody that doesn't play these games will hop in and be like, yo, I got my drills and I got my daily drills, you know, and it's fun for them. It's not work, you know what I mean? I feel like that's the next step, and I feel like they're close to figuring it out. Yeah, but I want to see a bigger push, and that's a big theme I think of us talking on the show today, man. My thing is the disappointing thing for me is I feel like the genre is not where it should be. You know, the
definitely.
genre is not in 2020, and then it's very like deflating, I should say.
It's insane.
Why
It's
is my
absolutely
genre
insane.
still in the 2000s, like early 2000s, not even like mid 2000s? Like, why is it in early 2000s?
We were talking about this bit before we went live, actually, but it seems like with the fighting game genre in particular, they've taken a lot of the negative elements of online play and applied them to fighting games, but haven't brought any of the positives. Like you were saying, the constant patching, for example, the NRS has adopted, the DLC practices that are just so pervasive in so many fighting games now. But they haven't really embraced what this technology can bring meaningfully, how it can really improve fighting games. But as you said, you know, they do seem to be more aware of the issue. And yeah, like tutorials are one of the most important things. And I think it's such a fertile ground for developers. There's so much untapped potential, so many creative new ways we could go about it. And as you said, passively, I love that word because the best tutorial is going to be invisible.
Yeah. Yo, like what? Even them's fighting herds, right? That the little My Little Pony game.
I haven't played that.
They put the
Now
you know, put the tutorial in the story mode. I think that's what they did, right?
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
it's a platform,
jump.
right? Like ideas like that, or even GranBlue Versus. I talked about this before. The way GranBlue Versus does RPG mode. I think the reality of it maybe is like a lot of players don't care for it, but I think the idea of it being like, okay, if they took it a step further, right? Like, what if the RPG battles each one incorporated a different tutorial concept? Where now, like, this character is gonna throw you. You have to tech the throw. That's the only way. This is an inescapable. The only way you can escape this grab is if you tech it. Something like that. You can't jump. You have to tech the throw. Being able to kind of like internalize those concepts for new players like that in ways that are like they don't have to worry so much about winning or losing versus another player, but playing a different game. But like I said before too, I have to imagine like that took up a huge chunk of the dev cycle. I have to imagine. Because it's. I mean, as from an outsider looking in, I think it looks really well done.
I haven't played it. I haven't actually played them's fighting herds yet, so I can't really comment on this.
I've only seen a little bit. I've only seen a little bit. Yeah, only seen a little bit of, but it seems like they combined a tutorial with the story mode. Like one part was like Majin said, was like a platformer, teach you how to jump properly, which is really cool. I feel like fighting games so far, most fighting games haven't quite done that yet, which I think would be huge. And
yeah, I mean they're at the step right before for the most part.
Yeah,
where they have how to explain the information, but they have. That's for us, right? We play fighting games. We're not the target audience there.
Exactly.
They need something to bring in people that don't. The question is, how do you do that when I can log? Dude, if I'm 8 years old and you're telling me, hey man, why don't you log into this fighting game where you're gonna get online, I'm gonna beat your ass, and then you better be in training mode practicing this stuff for 6 hours a day, and guess what? I'm still gonna beat your ass. What you can do, dude? What? That doesn't mean anything to me. If I could just log on to Fortnite and go to a Travis Scott concert, I don't care about that shit. I'm not doing that shit. Fuck that.
That was insane, man.
You went to that? You went?
I didn't go, but I just saw a clip of it. It's like, what?
I watched.
So you logged into that?
No, I didn't.
I saw it on Twitter. It was crazy.
When did Fortnite turn into like a media platform?
Are you kidding me? It's been a media platform since they launched. Like that's that game. That's the power of it.
Jeez, man, that's
the
crazy.
dances. They're like all that stuff. It's had media in it since day one.
I'm admittedly not a Fortnite player, but wow, that's breaking new ground there. That's pretty. I mean, that's really innovative. And if you're thinking about ways of getting new players into your game, I mean, I'm not saying you should have Travis Scott dancing around in Guilty Gear.
I mean, that'd be sick. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Can we get Travis Scott in Guilty Gear? Let's do it.
Make him the Pixel.
He can be the new character, man. I don't care. Let's do it. But I'm not saying necessarily do that, right? But like, that's a different kind of case than the fact that that game has, like a different. My point being, like, a lot of modern games, especially the more popular ones, they have like a simpler appeal, a more modern. There's more media integration, social media integration. There's the way the marketing and the advertisement is so beyond what we're used to. And fighting games have, like, outside of NRS, like, zero of that, right? And the thing is, it really becomes kind of we're all older guys, right? But you got to remember, like, fighting games, especially with up until now, it feels like, I feel like the younger generation that's been hopping on these games has becomes thinner and thinner.
Right, it's an old man thing.
A lot of our top players, a lot of our personalities, they were playing when they were in 5th, 6th grade. 10, 12 years old, they're going into arcade and stuff. We're having fewer and fewer of those. I think, like, there has to be something that I think we do where, like, it has a stronger appeal to younger players. I just think it's hard,
The general consensus is that fighting games is like a boomer genre. And as much as I hate that term, but it's true. And most developers aren't doing anything to buck that trend, mainly because most fighting game developers are Japanese, and Japanese companies are very much set in their ways, and they're set in the past. I mean, we're still struggling with these really rudimentary basic necessities, like we need better net code. And
we had to kick and scream for that. We had to kick and scream. And honestly, before that announced, I didn't think there was any chance. I was proven wrong.
I didn't either. Yeah, I had to straight up say I'm sorry. I was like, damn, I'll take that back. I didn't think that was going to happen. And look,
me too.
If it's a boomer genre, that's fine. The only rule I have was this: don't call me a boomer. You better not drop the hard R if you ain't a boomer like me. That's all I have to say. As far as I'm concerned, we boom. No hard R's. All love. You know what I mean? If I catch any of you kids calling me a boomer with the hard R, that's your ass. I'm exposed.
You can't be doing that.
But yeah, I mean, like, it just goes back to what I said, right? Like, the genre to me, I'm not talking about a specific company. I'm not talking about a specific game. I'm being very general. I feel like the genre in general is still in early 2000s. And and there might be reasons why, but I don't think they can be good reasons. They can't be good reasons. Other than, like, money, or it doesn't sell, right? But I don't even think that's been explored to the potential that it can, which is point of pain for me. It's I want to see the games do better. I want to see them, excel, grow, evolve. But I just feel like I've been seeing it so incrementally, and I don't know why. Yeah,
I feel like the closest to a company who is above the 2000s is NRS.
Yeah,
at the very it's really cool how they have a lot of single player content that people like to grab, because, like, once you're done with arcade mode, you're gone. Most people are gone. They're not going to play anymore.
So Catch-22, right? NRS and Iron Galaxy, the Western devs did a really good job with this, was interfacing with the people that play their games, having patches and then explaining the patch notes, right? Doing shows like that. NRS, of course, has really deep pockets to where they can do stuff that no other developer can really afford, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Look at their rollback implementation. Have you guys watched Talk on that, by the way?
It's incredible.
It's incredible. I'm not even smart enough to really understand what the hell that guy's talking about, but I can tell it took a lot of effort and money, and probably some smart people. Yeah. But the thing is, even that Catch-22, right? For as good as they are in one department, we were just talking about this, the NRS patching. And I feel like at the beginning of this, I feel like 15 years ago, I was looking at fighting games and being like, man, when the digital starts to pick up and these dudes really start to get on their stuff about this, this genre is gonna be incredible. It's gonna, like, think about all the ways it can take off. And since then, I was thinking more in terms of engagement, consistent engagement. If you look around, man, a lot of the games that are really popular or that do really well, I think it's about engagement. You want to think about games like, the big games, man, like Dota, CS2, LoL, all that. The dev is consistently engaging with the audience through the game.
Oh yeah.
Giving players new things to do and I was like, man, there's going to be so much of that, and it just hasn't really
untapped potential. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like so much potential there, and I feel like it's still so far behind.
yeah, the keyword is communication here. Communication, having a meaningful dialogue with your community.
Yeah,
Things are still so opaque, and yeah, NRS is light years really ahead of the competition. And hey, what a surprise! Mortal Kombat 11 was the third best-selling game of 2019, I believe. I mean, you get back what you put into it. And I feel your disappointment, Obama, is that so much more could have been done this past decade to really bring fighting games to the next level, and it hasn't really been done. So here's hoping. I mean, we haven't got off the best start in this decade, in the 2020s, but here's hoping, barring a zombie apocalypse, that things will go better this time around.
Yeah, hopefully with this in particular, right? This situation, COVID. Hopefully this puts more emphasis, I think, on a lot of developers to really try to reevaluate their games. This has been something that I've been saying for a long time.
Yeah.
The games as a package, as a complete package.
Yeah.
What does this game offer you? Are you able to play online reliably? Can it be good? What kind of features? What kind of modes are you talking about? How does this game appeal to newcomers? What does it have to try to make the learning experience fun? Can a person pick this game up, lose or win, be enjoying themselves in a variety of ways? That kind of emphasis on the package like that, I can only hope that COVID-19 has forced some devs to kind of reevaluate their stances on that, or force some form of introspection. Because man, without offline events to carry these games, and dude, they're like, I don't know, like offline events carry these games. It's very obvious right now.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Aris was saying
really
this actually.
Exposed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like that.
Yeah. Exposed so much.
I don't, if you've seen that video, like I don't think he's speaking. That's not a controversial opinion. I don't think you can look at this right now and say like, yeah, no, dude, like offline events bring so. I mean, it's where these games were born from, right? There's that natural offline tension. There's that natural, the person-to-person aspect. That frames these games in such a different and unique way compared to some other games. I just think it's unlike anything else. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's hard right now, to even have something even close to it.
Yeah. And there's no telling when we'll come out of this situation. So,
yeah, I mean you don't make the timeline. You don't make the timeline. The virus makes the timeline. I think that's something really big that a lot of people are missing. Like, bro, you're not dictating what the virus does. The virus dictates what you do.
Yeah.
All you can do is hold out for hope to flatten the curve, and then wait for a vaccine. But
yeah, basically, could be a year, could be two. We could be permanently from now on our existence as we go forward might be completely different. Period. So right now it's basically adapt or die, really. And I mean, it's as you said, the complete package. I feel like not only have fighting games not fully tapped into the potential of modern technology, they've also lost a lot of things that made them appealing in the early 2000s and the late 90s. Like when it came to Tekken 7, for example, so many people were disappointed that the new characters were just had no backstory. Like people want to. One of the things that people still remember about Tekken 3 are those character endings in arcade mode. They're iconic. And don't dismiss this. Characters are not functions. You play a fighting game because you create a bond or there's a character you really like. I mean, characters run fighting games. And you can't downplay that.
The little things, that's the case of the little things.
Yeah.
I told what were we talking about? That video of me talking as a dog over that the girl playing.
Yeah.
There were so many interactions where she was just like, "Oh, look at this! The little seal comes out the ground." Like,
so cute.
We're just like, but that's the power of characterization. That's the power of characterization. That's the power of appeal. Hell, you want to talk about Tekken? One of the most hated Tekkens of all time, Tekken 4. Presentation, bro. The art, the story. They kill it. They kill it. And it's, man, I would love if they tried to go back to that kind of style, that kind of style or something, man. Imagine that reimagined now. The presentation and the style, like it kills it. It's not even close.
Oh yeah, on every level, audio, like the soundtrack in that game is something else. Yeah, it's so experimental.
I'm in love with the art.
Yeah, because they fleshed it out. Yeah.
When I didn't really look at it again until a few years ago. I remember like playing it at the time, and I was like, man, it looks good. But when you go back and look at it now, you're like, dude, this is sick. That artwork is nasty.
It feels more modern than Tekken 7.
That shit looks great.
For sure, Tekken 4 feels more modern than Tekken 7 from a visual perspective in terms of art direction.
Crazy.
And what I loved about it is that they changed up the costumes to show character development. I mean, it was so jarring to see like Paul go from his gi, and then in Tekken 4 he has that like shaggy hair, and then right back in Tekken 5, back to the gi, and it just felt like such a regression. This is the kind of stuff like King of Fighters does this perfectly. Like every iteration, they're all wearing new costumes because the characters have grown. They've developed. There's someone else now. Guilty Gear. I mean, we've bitched a bit about Strive, but I think, the redesigns are a greater part of the appeal.
I don't have much. No, the redesigns.
They look great. Zato looks sick.
You brought us on here. We're supposed to bitch about Strive, right? But let's be real.
There are some good things.
Keep it a buck real quick.
Yeah.
That game is 2D. Well, 2D,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who else is even doing anything close to this? This shit looks insane. It's black magic and witchcraft. It's pagan sorcery as far as I'm concerned. Nothing should look this good, It
looks amazing. I mean,
if this is the future of that kind of art direction, I'm like, man, like it's beautiful. Yeah. I like looking at it. Hell, the redesigns, aside Kai losing the long hair, I have feelings about it. But just aside from that, Mei she looks cool. The Faust redesign.
Oh, I love it.
I think it looks sick.
His animation is incredible. It's so expressive.
It's the little things to me. Like it's not the doctor's coat. Now he's in the scrubs. That kind of scrubs with the kicks. Like that kind of thing. I think that's
Faust
cool.
doesn't talk anymore too. Like that's different. He doesn't talk anymore. He's changed.
Yeah,
that's something I really can appreciate, at least with Strive, is that those redesigns really not just look incredible, but you can share like every character has changed in some little way, which is really cool. I love that so much.
Yeah. They've evolved. I mean, it's you can tell time has passed since Xrd, and these characters have moved on with their lives, and that's great. People want to see that. Characters run fighting games; they're the heart and soul of them, and I think everything you do should take that into consideration, whether it's the mechanics or whether it's the tutorials. I feel tutorials should be centered around the characters. Maybe have the VAs taking you through like a specific character tutorial. Like have tutorials focused on the character. I think that'll make it much more interesting.
So, like I said, again, something that I always bring it back to is like for us, when we say these things, you always have to think about it from the dev perspective too, right? Like, how much of the dev cycle does that take? How much resources does that take? Now you're paying the voice actor like more time.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of concerns come up, but generally, that's just generally where I'm at. Generally, I'm like, I wish that they would focus more on developing a package that can attract new people instead of a game to attract new people. There's a difference.
Oh yeah, I hate
instead of a game to bait or to attract this person, make a good game package that can attract them and that can get them, that can keep them. There's a subtle difference there that I think might be hard to understand, but I think if you get me, you'll see where I'm coming.
I feel like that's always been a very, very hard thing to deal with, is keeping them. Keeping them seems to be so difficult, especially with these newer games.
Because now the quote unquote the game has changed, so to speak, right? Where it's not just about can you put out a good game. It's can you put out a good game? B, can you let people know that it's a good game? Can you market and advertise the game?
Oh yeah.
C, can you develop an ecosystem around the game where there is micropoint, consistent support? B, where people that are willing to, can you create a positive environment around the game? It's not as simple as just, kick out some good stuff now and just watch it roll. There's extra work that you have to put into that, or at least you have to at least set it up to where it's an environment where those things can develop. It's not that simple anymore. It's not. The problem is, again, I don't think every developer is necessarily doing their parts. I think to make sure that B and C happen, right? Marketing, advertising. I mean, dude, you can have the best game on earth if nobody knows about it. At some point you have to be able to promote it. At some point you have to be able to build an ecosystem around it. You have to be able to build positive environment around it. You have to be able to promote the game. And just being 100, Xrd, I don't even think it's a perfect game or anything like that. But that's part of my pain, I guess, with the recent Arc System Works titles is I don't think the problem was ever really the game. I really don't. And I'm not saying that those games are perfect again. Like, there's definitely something like when you have the discussion on simplification, I look at Xrd and I can definitely say, like, if you talk to anybody that plays Guilty, if you talk to anybody that plays it, they will definitely tell you there's some stupid stuff that they could cut out the game, and literally no one would shed a tear. Like, just straight up. There's like several things that are unnecessarily complex or like, I'd just say difficult. It's just like gatekeeping stuff that doesn't really add anything.
Yeah, like weight, for example.
Weights, like there's how many different ones? There's like 7 or 8 different types.
There's like at least 5. Yeah, at least 5. It's like
down to 4.
Super heavies and heavies.
I can't stand that.
Nobody's mad, I think.
I can't stand weight classes because it means you have to change your combos and your okizeme for like several different classes, and it's just book learning. And it's I agree. Weight classes.
I think it's book learning, but it's like a fun kind of exploration. Like Marvel 2, Marvel 3, it's basically the same thing, right? But that's why I'm saying streamlining. Have it to where there's only like 3 or 4, instead of like multiple, more than 5.
Yeah.
Variable wake up timings, face up, face down.
Yeah.
Just, danger time that's off the top of my head. I didn't even like think about that long.
Yeah.
The problem to me was never the game or the gameplay. The problem to me was promotion, marketing, advertisement, positive ecosystem, positive environment.
Oh yeah.
That to me had way more to do with Xrd, life and whatever than the game, which was a big concern for me moving on from it. Where like, what lessons were they going to take from it? My personal.
So, how can they address that? We talked a bit about developers having a more open dialogue with their community. Maybe like the way Killer Instinct did it. I constantly cite that game, but what they did is they would explain, for example, patch notes, and they would have an open forum where the developers could talk to community, to their community. Like, again, bring it to Tekken, like Mishi Master doesn't even have a Twitter account, for example, as far as I'm aware. And it's so opaque. It feels like all the developers are in this ivory tower, and it's so disconnected. I just want to go on the issue of marketing. I feel like one of the huge trump cards that Mortal Kombat has used to its advantage is the guest characters, and they're smart choices, I feel. Because Tekken 7 also tried this, with Noctis and Negan, and I'm sure the central idea running those decisions was, how can we get other people who don't usually play Tekken to play Tekken? And it probably didn't pay off as much as they expected it to. And the question is, why does Mortal Kombat seem to have more successful guest characters, or at least have more people getting into their games because of the guest characters, as opposed to Negan? Because a lot of people watch Walking Dead, and a lot of people who don't play Tekken watch Walking Dead, but that didn't translate into people playing Tekken. And it's a big question.
All right. I think with NRS, it's obvious, right? They have access to a huge library of characters,
Sure.
IP,
Warner Brothers.
established
WB, man.
established IP.
Yeah.
You know, films, comic. They like NRS has so many benefits that no other studio has. Like, then it's crazy. So yeah, when you can leverage some of those properties like that, I think it's fairly obvious. You know, if you have a superhero game and you just throw the Ninja Turtles in there, yeah, man, people are gonna go nuts. Especially, dude, like people over the age of 28 are gonna go nuts over there. Like, oh man, you know, I know those. You know, you have MK. Hell, man, let's throw Terminator in there. Why not?
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey, come here, Kano. Just throw it in there. You're mine, Kano. but that's the thing.
I low-key love that voice work of Ron. It's so good.
Like that, it looks really good. You know, it's intriguing. They know those personalities, they know those characters, they know those IPs. So sure, of course, that's going to have a bigger effect, and especially because the net that they cast is so wide, and naturally there's a lot of casuals in there anyway, right? So they get off to that stuff. Like, oh man, I can fight as Apollo Creed in this game. Hell yeah, you know, like why not? You know?
Or you mean like Leatherface, you know, like an MKX, they had like a bunch of serial killers there.
How they have Freddy and Jason? They just didn't have them in the same game.
Yeah, I know. That's great. That's wild.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, the IPs that MK have leveraged are like, I mean, dude, you can't compare Terminator to Negan, man. Like, come on, bro. You're not Ninja Turtles versus Noctis. Bro, Noctis? Are you serious? You can't compare that.
He's from Final Fantasy 15, bro.
Yeah, you're trying to get me in trouble, man. I'm not gonna say anything else. I swear to God, if you really let me go off, I'm gonna get pinged on Discord. Never mind, I gotta go. But like, you can't even compare those IP. That's why, to me, I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like Akuma and Geese had way more impact, than the other two. Like, it's not even close to me.
They were crazy head turners at the time. Akuma and Tekken, or Geese.
Well, there's that.
I remember the reception. Yeah.
The level 2 is brought players, not even necessarily from maybe some from Street Fighter, maybe some from KOF, but it brought non-Tekken players into Tekken 4.
That's right. Yeah.
Is the thing. I don't think there's a lot of. It makes sense to think like, oh, sure, there's going to be a lot of Final Fantasy people that hop on it because of I don't think it worked out that way, but like, it's at least a cool idea, right? Yeah. It's at least a cool idea in theory. Negan, I guess, you know, he's cool. But and look, man, like I'm clowning, right? Like I'm obviously in character right now or whatever, right? But guest characters aside, you know, I think original characters that capture a certain idea in a really complete way, characters like, now you won't read there hasn't been too much positive reception, I guess, on at least publicly on this, but characters like Fahkumram, you know, that really capture that style in a really cool way, done like motion capture. So like, man, he's sick. Yeah. He's sick. Like, the watching him move, especially, you know, that grab was opening me up real nasty for a little minute. But I'm glad they passed it.
Over the 14 frames.
They put the Band-Aid patch on that one though. But everything else about him, you know, it's been so cool. Which is, you know, I guess we'll come back to that later, talking about Fahkumram. But I think characters like that are done really well in an organic way, I think have way more. You know, if you're not an NRS, if you're not a Warner Brothers, or if you're not going to come from another fighting game IP, I think characters done that way have way more like impact.
Yeah, well, to me, not just Fahkumram, but Leroy too. Actually, remember how excited people were for Leroy until he came out, and people realized that
I love dogs, man. I love him.
Yeah, he's cool. I think he's one of the coolest, like, original designs in Tekken for decades. Fahkumram too, and I've said this before, but I love how with those two characters they're kind of going back to Tekken's urban roots. Like, those characters are so distinctly Tekken. They wouldn't really fit in any other fighting game. And I mean, you know, you think of Tekken character designs for the past decade or two, new characters. I mean, you have like Elisa. I think she's okay, but she doesn't scream Tekken to me.
You mean the robot maidens don't really do it for you, man?
Hey man, I'm fine.
You live in Japan, bro. They got all kind of nasty robots out here. You're supposed to like that stuff.
Look.
Dude, at least the fanboys are gonna kill you, bro. That's crazy.
Look at the weeb cave I live in. I look at the weeb cave I live in. Look, I think at least it's fine.
I know you nasty. All right? I know. Bro, everybody else knows how nasty you are, man. You got some nasty robots in there. I know.
Well, it's under the table, right? But I love. Look, I think Elisa's cool and all, and I actually quite like her gameplay design. But again, she just doesn't. If you look at her, you don't think, that's a Tekken character.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I get why they did that. Maybe they wanted to bring in a new demographic into Tekken.
Maybe that's why they did it. You know,
exactly. But I would much rather have a game focus on a more kind of unified art direction, and I think the positive reception to Leroy and Fahkumram on an aesthetic perspective anyway is indicative of that. It's really a shame what happened with Leroy because there's a ghost of an interesting character there with the cane and sugar and hermit stance. But I guess what happened is someone at upper management must have said, look, we want people to play this character. We can't put all this money into him and dev time and have him not be a tournament presence. And they just went way, way overboard. Not just to the detriment of the character, but the entire scene. Leroy destroyed the Tekken scene for like a few months. It was.
Would you argue that it took a lot of the momentum out of Tekken?
Oh yeah, I think that was the turning point. And I think the whole controversy we had recently with Mishima Hell Sweeps, that wasn't about Mishima Hell Sweeps. That started. The starting point was actually the paid frame data thing. But Leroy was the turning point, really. That was what lost a lot of goodwill with the Tekken community. And tracking Hell Sweeps was just the straw that broke the camel's back. But yeah, and it's, we've talked about this before, but it's a shame that like one guy had to take the entire brunt of the community on that. It was fairly messed up.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I guess we could touch on it now.
Yeah.
I'm pulling. I think I have to do it. I'm gonna pull. I'm officially on this stream. I'm gonna pull the Tekken community's card. Y'all can't talk shit on Smash Brothers anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because I've never seen. I hesitate to call it the community, right? We talked about this before. It's like this weird online monolith presence. It's like, you remember in The Matrix 3 when Neo went to the Machine City and it was like that. The bunch of little robots that made the big baby face, and that was the Machine King. That to me is Tekken people on Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit. Just the big baby face. Like, we got, why they're killing the game? Like, relax, bro. As somebody who was running weekly Tekken events, one of the biggest weekly events for that game in the world, mind you, I can tell you it wasn't killing. I think destroy is kind of a hard word. It definitely, you could say it took some wind out the sail in terms of drag.
Oh, yeah.
But dude, 70 to 100 people still showing up every week to grind and play. That doesn't sound like, I'm like looking at him like, bro, this shit ain't dead. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, bro, people are still going ahead. Yeah. But they're like, no, they're killing the game. Like, relax, bro. Relax. They'll get fixed. They know. And the thing is, like, Julian's laughing. He knows better than anybody. BBC. I got flashbacks to the exact same thing.
Oh man.
It's this. So here's the thing. Last 10 years, Tekken and BlazBlue, most people don't know this. Tekken and BlazBlue in arcade in Japan were the two most popular games. Hands down, free.
Yeah, it was like Tekken was number 1 and then BlazBlue was second, I think.
It's like they were 1 and 2. There were some months where they flipped.
Yeah.
Those fighting games, those are the two most popular games. BBCP 1.0 was probably the most fun and best. Like, if you talk to a lot of people that play that game, they're like, man, that was golden age.
Yeah, it was so
good. That 2-month period where it was BBCP 1.0 console release. Everybody was playing it. Everybody was loving it. Until Kokonoe. They dropped that character. Too strong. She's powerful. You have to play her. It's almost copy and paste the Leroy. Almost copy.
It was literally the birth of the 800 yen tier. It was the birth of it.
It's like it felt very, very familiar to me watching this whole thing unfold. And to me, like, you know what I want to say is this. It's really wild to me that a community that has the best world tour, that has as many forces pushing the game as it does, both visible and invisible, that has as many players as it does, consistently being added to the pool of players, gaining numbers gaining numbers on event. You just had a new character release, dude. This game's in its 5th year. This game's 5 years old, dude. Still adding characters, still adding content. You're still getting stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not bad with that good. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying your criticism isn't unwarranted. I'm not saying that. But my thing is, it's about how you do it. You know, I watched, there's a lot of Korean YouTubers, you know, or players that have made YouTube content where they constructed their ideas, they talked about them, and they're delivering their feelings on this whole situation in a constructive manner. I like that. Arslan Ash, he makes his letter. It's very respectful. I like that. Neat. Puts out this video where he's giving a very detailed discussion. I like that. What I don't like is these Goombas, these big head. I don't even know what you even call them, man. Like, these dudes on Reddit going at Michael Murray post. Michael Murray's face. Blah, just like, bro, again, just like that big baby face from the Matrix. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Harada's like, my dog died today. They're like, but when you add Kuni Mitsu to the game, I love her. You know, like bro, what's going on here, man? Settle down. Bro, y'all just got a new character and you won't even talk positively about that. You got a patch to fix the stuff that you were bitching about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, that's a bit interesting, but like, what do you know, you're getting shit, you know, they're killing the game. No, dude, they're not killing the game. Relax, man. Relax. Settle down. Bro, you can't. Here's the thing that gets me. So we sit down, we're talking about Strive, right? Let me put this on you. The survey at the end of the Strive beta. So we didn't even get a chance to really talk about all this stuff that much. We'll go back to it.
Of course.
At the end of the Strive beta, they have this survey you're supposed to fill out, right? Your comments, your thoughts, what you want to tell them. That's the first time Arc System Works has ever asked the Western community, what do you think about our product?
Right.
That's the first time. Okay? We don't have somebody we can just add on Twitter and get a response from. We don't have a hashtag where we list bugs and shit that doesn't work in the game and be able to get a response. So it is insane to me for people to be getting on these fucking social media platforms and trying to digging at the producer who, I'm not even like, this isn't even a defense. I'm not even talking about him. I'm going at you. Bro, you don't realize how good you have. That's the crazy part. Imagine watching your favorite series literally get punched in the chest and you don't even have anybody you can directly have a line to. At least with you guys, you can always ask somebody and he might respond to you if you're respectful. You have somebody giving you insight on what they're talking about, what they're saying in those offices. You have, like, bro, at least you have that one-to-one communication, and you've been having it. Harada was doing it to a fault. Dude, some of the idiots he responds to, I'm like, what the hell are you doing responding to this guy? Talking about some wild shit. But my point is, these people with short memory span, or maybe they don't know. Maybe they're all fresh Tekken 7 head. That's a lot of people too, right? So they don't know any. But then there's also those with super short memory spans. Like, bro, you don't remember what it was like during Tag 2 7 years ago? You don't remember that? I'm just telling you, man. It's the corniest shit on earth to me. So as far as I'm concerned, like, Tekken, bro, until y'all get this, like, I don't even want to call them the community because I don't see any of these clowns at tournaments. I don't see any of these clowns doing some real shit with the game. They're just online. They're just this online existence, right? Until that existence purge, y'all can't talk shit about Smash Brothers. It's the same to me. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's an unfortunate fact that kind
of because some scenes would kill to have that. Some scenes would kill to have that.
Can you imagine if we had that in ArcSys land like 2-3 years ago? Even that.
But the thing but like again, the big head dudes that be on these keyboard, they don't have that depth perception. They can't see that. They can't look laterally and see like, well, damn, maybe it's not so bad. That's so it's wild. And I'm not saying don't have your criticism. I'm not saying don't have what your issue with stuff. But it's about how you express that. You don't do that by constantly shit posting on Reddit. You don't do that by having like all these a nonstop stream of personal attacks on the staff of the game. What the hell is that, man? That's just weird. That's just so weird. Especially when, like, dude, especially getting at him over the. Yeah, it's just weird. It's super weird. It's super weird. It's like socially unacceptable. Like, I'm just like, put the mask on. I'm out of here.
It's kind of a shame that negativity seems to be the thing that spreads on Twitter or any social media. That kind of this culture of hyperbole and
maybe
outrage
that's the nature of it.
And outrage.
Maybe that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's that way by nature, for sure.
Because I remember a few months ago, I was thinking, wow, like there seems to be some real positive turns here. Like Street Fighter V updated its netcode. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was still an attempt after 5 years, for example, to update it. In Tekken, they directly and immediately addressed the Leroy issue. They listened to the community clearly, and they fixed it. And they fixed him. He's okay now. I mean, what else? I mean, rollback netcode in Strive. I mean, they're clearly listening. And I wish there would be a bit more noise about these positive steps going forward.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it gets really easy to just sit there and bitch the whole time. But the truth is, you have to give props, man. You have to give props when they do good stuff. Like, bro, like, look, man, this topic list. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat. So we got off on the wall bricks, right?
Yeah.
So it's really easy for me to. It's really easy for me to look at the Strive list. General thoughts on GG Strive. Wall breaks. I hate it. It's really easy for me to be like, new Gatlings. Left side of your controller doesn't communicate with the right side of the controller. Get out of here. It's easy for me to be like, Airdashes make it easy, but then it actually makes it harder. No thanks. Lobby. We don't even need to talk about that.
Yeah, lobby was not going.
UI. Are you? If I have to tell you that UI is bad, we got a problem. Slow mo on counter hits. Super jarring. Super like I can't tell when I'm in control, when I'm not in control. It's not like Tekken where I have a sense of where that control is, right? But in a game that's like that kind of is a little bit different in terms of pace, kind of faster on the frames. It's super. It's made for spectators. It's not made for players, which is an issue I have. It's made specifically for people that don't play the game. That I don't like. It's really easy for me to sit here and harp on all those negatives, right? But you could throw music in there too. I think the music, but I cannot. I have to give props. They listen to the community on Rollback. That is huge. That is huge. That's
completely unprecedented.
That's bigger than Guilty Gear. That's bigger than GG.
Oh yeah,
I've been saying that that's bigger than GG.
It actually changes everything.
Well, it changes everything about the way you have to look at this game, and that's one reason why. Hell, even if you don't play Guilty Gear, you should be kind of passionate about this game because this probably has future implications for you.
Right.
Real shit. So, gotta give mega props. Zynak and them, putting out even that little bit of English support in those terms of those videos and those character breakdowns. I thought that was fantastic, especially when we're used to those 40-second, stinger,
nothing
stinger things. Yeah, I mean, come on. These were way better than any of those, right? I wish maybe COVID interfered. I have to imagine. I have to imagine it was really tough for them to get those out on time. What we got out on time anyway. But I wish they could have done something like a mechanics thing, right? Or like a system mechanics or something that kind of would give people who don't have experience with the franchise a little bit more hand holding. I think going into the beta, I would wish they had that. But for what they did, awesome. The aesthetic can't speak highly enough. This is the future, straight up. It's the future. Yeah. That shit looks so clean. Move the command list. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's what they got from GranBlue, man.
Bro, from the second I saw that shit in GranBlue, this is way before it was even announced. I was one of the first people to touch that game from the West. Yeah. The second I saw the command list, I was like, that's nice. That's nice.
I totally agree.
Very clear description on how to do the attack, an image to contextualize it, and then
how
a
to
description
apply
on
it.
how to apply it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
I love
beautiful. I saw that as a Tekken player, and I was just green with envy.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine? Because not only is it explain to players how to use this move in a really clear and easy to understand way, but it also means that the developers are held accountable for their decisions in a way. Like, you can't just throw in a move and be like, well, what's the point of this? What's the reasoning behind this?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Like, I always feel like when going back to the Tekken, like, lack of transparency thing, if you're not explaining your reasoning behind decision making,
then naturally,
right? What is the assumption there? What is the assumption that you have something to hide, or you can't be held accountable for your decisions,
or not necessarily, which is all the more reason why that transparency is important, right?
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think you'll find anybody that disagrees with that. That's not a controversial statement.
No, sure.
Not controversial at all, I think. Yeah. Which is something that was really refreshing about the Western devs, right? When they offered that to you, NRS and Iron Galaxy, you can't give enough props to them, man. They I think did a really good demonstration on how to be transparent and give that clear kind of description. I like the way you put that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the fact that Strive doesn't have a release date yet, I think they were saying holidays 2020, but now it's just indefinite. I mean, that tells you that this is really a work of passion, and they're not gonna get this out until they're totally satisfied. And I'm glad they're experimenting a bit. I mean,
yeah. And look, man, even if we're disappointed with some of the decisions that they made, right?
They're trying something new.
You got to give props. Yeah, they're not just doing the same thing over and over. One of your questions on like the script was like differences between Xrd and what we'd like to see at Rev 3.
Yeah.
Me personally, I love Rev. I think Xrd is a sick game. It's not perfect, but I feel like, man, just to keep it 100 with you, KOF 13, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Xrd. I feel like it's one patch away from being a game I could play for 7-8 years.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
There's just nobody talking to me. I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's you can even put SF, not as good as the other ones. SFX 2013, I think, put in that same category, where it's one patch away from being. This is really a good game we could play for a long time, right? Yeah. And because of that, I want to Rev 3. I want to see that realized.
Yeah.
I want that
potential.
But that is, I recognize, a selfish and biased desire, because I know that that's not going to overall change the ecosystem. That's not going to change Guilty Gear. It's not going to be like some radically different product. They're not going to really like challenge any conventions or anything like that. That's just something that I personally selfishly want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As for, this game and them trying things, I don't think, I think there's a negative kind of nuance to the discussion where people are like, you're like, dude. And to be honest with you, again, I'm gonna shoot on them real quick. The GG vets, last generation, the jaded old Guilty Gear players when BlazBlue came out, and they were talking all that shit. Fast forward 10 years later, BBCF is way harder than Guilty Gear was. It's not even close. BBCF is way harder.
Yeah,
but they were talking, Scrub GG, you play this, you're a put, bro,
Blaze baby.
And like the shitty part is they ruin any credibility for people to have this discussion in a rational way now. Because now the second you open your mouth with any criticism, they're like, you're just old and irritable. You don't care. Get old GG vets. Fuck the GG vets. I'm gonna say it right here. Fuck them. But here's the thing: I like that they're willing to try new things. I like that they're willing to experiment, because that's where evolution happens. Anyway, right? I like that they're willing to walk away from conventional stuff. BB. So like, yeah, I think that's something important to recognize. By the time BBCF was finished, that game is way harder than Rev 2. It's not even close.
Free, as someone who plays both of them, like competitively, absolutely.
Can you explain to me, as someone who's not well versed in BBCF, what is it that makes it harder?
Bro, think about the complaints most people have about Guilty Gear, the systems, the mechanics, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
BB is like, by the end of BlazBlue's lifespan, right? That was a 10-year game. You gotta remember that game came out in 2008. in arcade.
Yeah.
By the end of
remember.
2018, 2019, dude, there's tons of system mechanic. Right, I couldn't imagine being a new player trying to jump into that game. The volume of characters in those games, in ArcSys games, are typically like really radically different from each other. Each matchup is learning a new character gimmick or learning how to deal with something new. The volume of mechanic, what those mechanics do, how they can function, dude. There's so much, dude. I mean, think about it. You have guard, barrier guard, instant barrier guard. There's like 5 types of blocking in that game. It's just. It's not even close. But
heavy barrier, yep.
Yeah, but hey, if you run the clock back 10 years, you would have never guessed that by the way some people were talking about it, right? It's not that I think here's the point that I wanted to get. For players that play now, it's not that they don't want something new. That's a common OS that I think people on the other side of the discussion, they constantly run it. You just want the same thing. No, you're not listening. You're not listening. Shut up. You're not listening. I don't just want the same thing, but I'm not willing to. I just don't like just randomly changing things. It depends on that kind of change. It depends on the objective behind that change, and it depends on how it works out. That is the point of tension. I want new stuff. I want to be excited about the game. I want new experience. But when the nature of that experience is so naturally objectively a downgrade, that is, yeah, man. I mean, that's not good, I think.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. It's like I was talking to you, when he went to the bathroom, or when I went to the bathroom. It's just I agree with you. I don't mind something new. Like I play CF, I play Exert. Like I don't mind new, because I think most Exert players are more, or Guilty don't mind something new. But when it's something so radically different, and I think an absolute downgrade from what it is now, it's heartbreaking, because you feel like Guilty Gear is one of the last bastions where it's still like, yeah, it's different from the XX series. Like for sure, it's absolutely different from the XX series. Like, no joke. But it still keeps the core functions of what makes Guilty Gear. Still has Gatlings, still has a lot of those mechanics that carry over from the old games, even though it's completely different.
Really, you gotta recognize the brand, man. This is a Tekken channel, so you gotta put it in those contexts.
This is a fighting game channel, man.
Tag 2 is XX, or how should I say this? Tag 2 is XX.
Right.
Tekken 7 is X.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
There's that backstep, like it's toned down in some way, right? Obviously.
Sure.
But you can still perceive the game like it's still that game.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's emphasis on a couple core things versus Tag 2.
Of course.
The way I feel.
Striver's Revolution. Please don't say that.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you said it, not me. You said it.
No.
You said it, not me.
Yeah. I knew what you're getting at. But yeah, I feel you.
So that's an analogy, I think, to give some people who might be like struggling to kind of understand. Yeah. That's the reason why I said, like, I think I was watching other people like come into my stream when I was playing. They're like what? It's like, what's the issue with, like, why? Like they didn't play previous Guilty Gear. They don't know. And the second I put that analogy out there, they're going, oh.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah,
now
like
it all clicks. Let's hop on a bit to GranBlue Fantasy Versus. I mean, again, a game with polarizing opinions on it. I mean, again, I'll throw the ball out there. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, and Julian, I know you're like you're a high level Percival player. I mean, how do you feel about the game overall? And what are your thoughts on the recent patches? Because a lot of people were complaining that the recent patch didn't go far enough, but to me it was quite refreshing, actually. I like a patch that makes sensible, incremental, but actually quite far-reaching changes. I think that improving the game quite, like with every patch, is getting a little bit better, as opposed to wide-sweeping, just breaking the game.
Definitely. I think I always, from the onset, when GranBlue was announced, I always had that, because they always said from the get, we're trying to make a Street Fighter-esque game.
Yeah.
So my expectations were always grounded to that. Yeah. So I was expecting another Guilty Gear, another BlazBlue. So I was always expecting, okay, it's going to be a ground-based fighter. That's cool with that. And when it came out, that's basically what I got. And I liked that. GranBlue has a lot of issues at that time, especially when it came out. I still think it was one of the better games ArcSys made, first iteration wise. I think it was pretty solid. Glaring issues, of course, but pretty solid overall. But I was always expecting a ground-based fighter, not like an air dash heavy game. Never said I wanted to be Guilty, never said I wanted to play BlazBlue. So my expectations were grounded to that, and I really like it. Yeah, it's different, but I enjoy it. And the patches, yeah, you can say it's not doing enough, but I feel like since the game didn't really have an arcade release, right? So it doesn't have all those months and years of play testing through arcades that CF or Guilty Gear had to,
or Tekken for that matter.
Or Tekken,
that time in the oven makes at the time, you remember that shit when
Phase 7 Retribution, right?
Well, yeah, but you remember the Western audience at the time? They're like, "When's the game coming out?" It's 2 years. You remember Speed Kicks on Twitter just getting at Michael Murray all the time? Like, that's hilarious to me. Release the game. But hindsight 2020, that time in the oven did the game so much good.
Yep.
Oh, for sure.
It did the game one. Dude, could you imagine if Vanilla 7 would have released? You remember Vanilla 7 Arcade?
No,
It was the same genre. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Tekken 7 would have crashed and burned.
When it came out, I was in the arcade. I was like, all right, it's all right.
It would have crashed and burned. Like that, the stigma of the initial, it wouldn't have never got past the stigma of the initial release, like Street Fighter V, which, I wonder if Street Fighter V had an arcade release, would it be as reviled as it is today with the FGC? Like if they'd taken the time to kind of go through it, because
would it be as polarizing? Yeah.
First impressions are super important. First impressions.
It's a catch-22, man. You're mad about the time that you don't have with the game, but somebody else does. But then that time in the oven helps. That it makes it a better game. So when you do get it, you're like, oh man, this is a much better product than I would have ended up with.
I think people need to temper their expectations when they get a new fighting game, especially in this day and age when it hasn't been preceded by years of arcade run and balancing and patching. I mean, when GranBlue Fantasy Versus first came out, I thought, okay, there are some issues, but for the first attempt, like for a version 1, this is great. Like there's things I would change. I mean, why is Charlotta's jumping L still what it is?
Oh, it's mad degenerate.
Yeah, I love it.
Legit half a brain cell and just be,
Yeah, it's like the game still has a lot of issues, but the patches, they're small, but they're still significant. And I think that's fine for now. Now, that's fine. Like, I want Ferry to be more eviscerated. I'm biased. I hate that character. But, I think for now, the smaller approach is good for the game. You don't want to go too ballistic. But I do like what they did change, because I feel like if they just stood the course and didn't do this patch, I think it would have been unhealthy for the game. If it was, it would.
What I was going to say was what Arya was saying is like, he said there was a lot of negative reaction to it. I think a lot of that is actually like, that's just people tripping. I think for the people that actually play the game, I think most of them have a pretty positive perception.
Yeah. I like
this most recent patch. From my experiences, anecdotally, I think the game's really fun. I think it's cool for what it is. I think it's really fun, really cool. I remember playing the first beta. I was like, man, this is great. Great game.
I think it got a lot of like, whenever you go on Twitter, for example, with Tekken 7, there's always someone uploading a clip of something janky happening in Tekken and like, oh, this game is trash. And a lot of that happened with GranBlue Fantasy Versus 2. And it's a sign of the times we live in. But and I guess that creates a kind of negative groupthink about it. And
retweets and likes, man.
Yeah. Because I mean,
MLAO.
The game working right. The game working properly is never going to be tweeted out. It's not exciting enough, or it's not incendiary enough. But I still think I like what I liked about GranBlue Fantasy Versus, or just GBVS or whatever, is that there was a vision to it, and they stuck to that vision, and they
executed for the most part. Exactly. Until Zooey was, but anyway,
I haven't actually played Zooey yet. What are your thoughts on her?
I mean, they pretty much they combined Soul, Bad Guy, and Dizzy into a character and put it in Grand.
Oh, great!
So
it's quite accurate.
I like, it's cool to me. I think she's tight. She looks tight. She has way more nuanced, I think, offense than maybe some of the other characters that you're used to. But that's kind of like why she's odd, I think, to watch, because you're seeing a character with so much like variance, I think, or just like there's something about her neutral and her offense that almost like doesn't fit in GranBlue. Is the cool thing, right? It's so potent, it's so powerful. But she doesn't have a DP, right? So it's like, okay, it's like we'll pull it back a little bit.
Okay.
So what I'm curious to see is, up until now, I feel like the meta, you need a DP or a flash kick to really compete with that, right?
Why does Ferry have a DP, by the way? Like,
bro, stop saying that, man. She needs it. She does. I'm sick and tired of y'all picking on Ferry, bro.
Imagine if Dulcim had a DP. That's basically what it is.
If Dulcim had a DP and set play.
Same thing.
Right. And Aegis Reflexor, basically.
The thing is, you bait it, and you're on top of her, and you're probably in a good position to win that. You have to outplay her twice. But if you outplay her twice, you could probably win, right? True, lie or no lie.
True.
Stop, bitch. Let her have a DP, man. Let her have a DP. Fine. It got slowed down anyway in the patch, right?
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it got slowed down by at least a couple frames, so you can actually save jump before you couldn't.
That's cool.
That's probably an okay change. Maybe.
That's big.
I think
that could be big.
Yeah, I think that's
because only like a frame or two slower, I think. So it's not too crazy, not crazy slow. But I think it's 11 frames now, so you can actually like 2A and then like still block in time until DP comes out.
Yeah, I mean her set play, her neutral is so good. It's low return on average, right? But she has enough control. You have to. I think that's actually a character. She's one of those characters that I think actually like in tournament you have to have like
to be honest,
really really strong like stamina, mental stamina.
Yeah, for sure.
The touches, yeah, she has that control, but they're not worth much.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can't just timber your way to victory.
Yeah, you got to think about like in terms of like tournament type, like 7-8 hours into a tournament, are you still playing at that level where you're reacting that quickly and being able to do all that stuff? It's like sim players, right? You say yourself, sim, those kinds of characters, they take a lot of mental fortitude to play for a long time. Yeah.
It's hard to play in tournament for sure.
But I think the game for what it is sick. I think it's a really good. It's this nasty little like Street Fighter, Sam Show, Rising Thunder hybrid mix.
Yeah.
Developed by ArcSys Works, right? And for what it is and for what it aims to do, I don't know if it achieved that goal of bringing in, a strong like GranBlue RPG community into the fighting game. I don't know if it achieved that, but it sold really well. That's always a good start. And then, dude, you live in Japan just like me, They love that game.
It's huge. It's huge. Absolutely huge. Yeah. I mean, the GranBlue brand isn't all that well known in the West, but here it's pretty massive here.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's already surpassed Tekken 7 in sales.
Really?
That's crazy.
I believe.
God
I might be talking out my ass. Don't quote me on that.
I haven't seen any numbers since they said, like, I think the first, like, 24 or 48 hours or something like that, they said it dropped 350,000 digital.
Okay.
I haven't seen any numbers since then, but if that's true, that's crazy. I believe it.
Apologies, I'm talking out my ass. Like, if someone in the chat can maybe look that up and see if I'm talking rubbish. Just if in
that's
Japan.
True, that's actually wild. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like Japan only, though. Japan only. Because, it's done huge there. Tekken is like 5 million at the moment.
There's no way that's true. There's no way, right?
No. Not globally. Just Japan. Like, compare Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be too wild if it's global.
Yeah.
I want to see the numbers on that. That's crazy. I believe it.
Mm-mm.
It's still just like, wow, crazy.
Yeah. Now, I mean, just to round up on GBVS, I mean, to me, it feels like the most Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 2, maybe Alpha 2.
Damn,
like,
you gonna expose Street Fighter like that? All right, go ahead.
But I guess,
shout out to Christy, man. Shout out to Christy. Where's Christy? Not my Street Fighter. Hashtag not my Street Fighter. Go ahead.
Look, I don't mind Street Fighter 5. I don't mind Street Fighter 5, really. I think it's fine for what it sets out to do. But I wouldn't really. To me, I think Novril made a video about this, about how every iteration of Street Fighter makes such a radical departure from the previous one. And I think most people, when you think Street Fighter, they still think Street Fighter 2, Super Turbo.
I think just because culturally it was the most significant one, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's still coasting off that. But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, that's part of why, like, dude, honestly, man, I'm just being real, dude. Street Fighter players, Street Fighter community in the West, they say the stupidest shit on it. My God. Just like, not my Street Fighter. This ain't my Street Fighter. Bro, what the hell is Street Fighter to you? Have you ever played Alpha 3? Do you even know what that you're implying when you say some shit like that?
That game has like air tags, bro.
Every Street Fighter by nature is so radically different from the other one. That's also why it's cool, right? Yeah. Same idea, game, basically, but put through different lenses like that.
Exactly.
Emphasis on different things, and then they add different systems, different mechanics to where the games play out really differently.
Yeah,
that's why it's such a weird. Like, it's so weird. I don't I gotta be honest with you, man. These Street Fighter 5 people, they're really hard to relate with. I just be seeing some of the stuff they're talking about sometimes. I'm like, man, what are these? Like, I just close my phone, man. I just gotta turn my phone off.
Following a bunch of them is a dangerous game.
You know what? Arya, keep this in the video. Keep this in the video. Don't edit this out.
No.
I blame the culture.
I have no comment.
I blame the culture, me.
Beautiful.
You ain't think I was gonna go there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I love it. That's the perfect rebuttal, I think. Couldn't get better than that.
I'm just kidding.
But you're not. That's what I love.
Well, I was gonna say, I still gotta say it though. I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah.
No comment.
But I think it's interesting that you said that it's the most Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 2. It might kind of fit that mold, but maybe that's part of why it's so successful. I don't know, man. But whatever it is, I also think because of the way the game is built too, it's the ideal kind of. Sam Show kind of had this going for it last year too, where it's so simple and easy to just pick up and play that you can. It's the ideal secondary game, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't have to go in.
It's my secondary game now. Like,
exactly.
The characters are very simple to understand. Like again, coming from a Tekken background where the characters are so multi-layered and it's hard to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And every time we make one of these overview videos, we all sit down like seasoned Tekken vets. Like, what is this character actually good at?
Yeah, dude, we beep it. People that watch videos on this channel, everybody knows that. Like the amount of I can't imagine script writing this shit. Like, y'all have to sit down and think for like just hours, right?
We do.
You can definitely tell listening to some of your character breakdown. Like y'all are trying to talk about Eddy. It's just like this constant like back and forth with the meme shit.
For sure.
Nobody, because it feels like most people don't really understand the character, right?
And that script went through several revisions with
you can tell
Spag and Dinosaur. Yeah. Even the script feels a little bit fractured because you can tell that Spag is reading some of Dino's his script, so it might sound a little bit unnatural on him, so he's not using his exact wording.
I didn't mean that disrespectfully either. I meant like it's good. It's good. No, cheers. Like, we all put our input into it, and sometimes we disagree heavily, and that's why these videos take so long sometimes. Like, we just for example, with Brian's actually more clear cut, but some characters, it's like, what are they good at? What are they bad at? Yeah, what does this character do? He's got just like, especially, a character like Eddy in particular, right? Who even like pop culturally had like some relevance for a while, right?
For sure.
Didn't Dane Cook make a joke about him or some shit like that? Like, he's like Eddie Gordo on Tekken 3, just like flailing his legs everywhere. Like, there's some level of like pop culture knowledge on the character, but it might, does anyone actually know what he does outside the people that play him? Like that kind of thing.
Exactly. I mean, we had to address the conception of how Eddy is conceived with most players, and he's perceived as this ultra cheap, kind of mashy character. And it goes back to Tekken 3 days when he was like the first stance-based character. I actually think since Eddy, there are a lot of other characters since him that have taken that idea and they're much more irritating to fight. Like evasive, annoying, like Zafina, for example. And she's actually really good at high-level play. But she's probably not as mashy as Eddy. You can't.
Right, her movement is what puts her over the top, right?
For sure.
I guess makes her competitive even with like top tier, right?
Yeah, like Zafina in a lot of ways is actually kind of a better Eddy in the way you play her. Like this kind of in and out. You used her movement, except she actually has a sidestep and a really good sidestep.
Her movement is so good.
Yeah, and both horizontally and laterally. She can There's so many things, so many strings and so many setups and mix-ups that only she can avoid. I don't think she's an easy character to play, especially to maximize her potential, especially in tournaments. But when people say top 5, yeah, I can see that. But I think there's only a select few who can really bring that out. Same with, I guess, with Akuma, right? A lot of people bitch about that character, but there are literally like 5 people in the world who can actually bring out what that character is capable of. So, you know, when people say that Akuma is ruining Tekken,
or at least that are doing it on a big stage like that, right? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess people are just unhappy that a Street Fighter character is dominating in Tekken. I mean, that's more the root of it, I think. It's more
that's not Tekken.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Not Tekken.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it circles back around to like kind of the way they do it too. Like JP players, you know, when they've been bitching about like Akuma for years, you know, Akuma and Geese, right? Like ever since they released, the JP players on Twitter just
they hit
here it is, you know.
Akuma, Geese, meter characters. They hate meter characters because it's a big break from the norm.
And that's something that the team has talked about too, right? That's one reason why touching them, you know, and Eliza in that conversation as well, right? Why touching them is so like such a touchy subject, because naturally they're like they kind of have that magnifying glass on them from top players, you know, like what are you really doing with this character and why are you doing it or why aren't you?
Yeah, I think Akuma brings, for as much hate as he get, Akuma and Geese bring not Geese actually, because he does have a really good down forward one, good jab strings, but Akuma is a character who is successful at high-level play, who doesn't play anything else like other conventional top tiers in Tekken. Because what runs high-level Tekken at the moment is generally really strong down-forward ones, really strong jabs, magic fours. And if you look at any of the top 5, top 10 characters, they all have...
They have very good versions of all the generic...
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, you know, I think... You know, the question is, I mean, would people like to see Tekken cross Street Fighter as the next kind of Tekken iteration? And I feel that the general consensus is no. But I'd be quite excited to see that, actually. Because I think Akuma does bring something new to Tekken. I think he offers something new on the table. I like to see change, and I like to see Bandai Namco doing something daring with characters, something different. I do agree that Akuma is probably still the most powerful character in the game, despite all the nerfs over all the patches which have built up now. But I appreciate him being there. And I know that's a controversial opinion, but whatever. I like the fact that Akuma is in Tekken 7, and I hope he stays. Sorry.
I think he's cool. He's a shitbird character. and he makes me mad. But I don't even like playing against him, man. But you know what I'm cool with? It's awesome fanboy shit. Not even like, you know, just straight up. I'm just being honest with you. Like, awesome fanboy stuff, like, it's tight. I like it.
It's that shit you dream of, you know, when you're a kid. You're like, yo, that'd be so rad if
listen, let me... True Serum. You ready for it? You will never have Capcom vs. SNK 3. This is Capcom vs. SNK. You will never have it again. This is the real Capcom vs. SNK 3. You better enjoy it, man. And look, do I want a Tekken cross Street Fighter? Oh, yeah. 2 words. Hell no. Hell no, I don't want that shit. Normal people don't want that shit. Hell no. Get that shit out of your head. Forget it. Keep building up 7. Building up 7. I'm
7's dope.
I'm just like, man, 7's great. I feel like you can still ride. Dude, you can still keep going with this game. I feel like for another 3 years, even.
We should see like season 4, season 5, season 6. Is that what you'd like to see?
I honestly think like this is a 10-year game. Real shit. I think it's a 10-year game. I think you go to.
I mean, the thing is,
like 2020, 2024, maybe cut the stop content. 2025, just ride it out. 2026, next game. You know, Tekken 8 or whatever.
For sure. I mean, if they did a Tekken 8, it would be a huge risk. And for what, really? I mean, I think in terms of business sense, it's probably a lot more. It makes a lot more sense to keep on working on Tekken 7. keep on working out the roster. I mean,
Yo,
there's clearly space for like 4 more stages on the stage select screen.
Are you ready for Tekken 7 Season 7? Baby, I'm ready. Let's go. let's go. Yeah, I mean, I guess, personally me, I feel like one of the problems with Tag 2 was that the character select screen was so bloated, right? Just too many characters. 7 very quickly got up there.
Yeah.
So, like, to be honest with you, I feel like it's at the point where you could even slow down on adding characters. Me personally, I don't even want like a huge volume of characters added to the game at this point.
I agree with this, actually. I said in a recent video that I think the current roster size is just unreasonable, really.
And
especially if you're a new player, if you're trying to get into this.
It's daunting. I still remember playing Tekken Tag.
Well, I want is more stuff around the game, like I want more tracks. I want more OST. I want more tracks. I want more stages. I almost rather stages than characters at this point. And then,
I want to say, why don't they give the option when it comes to stages? They have the vanilla versions of those stages. I'm sure somewhere in their libraries in Bandai Namco. Why not offer the option to play like Twilight Conflict without the horrid Instagram filter? Like, you could so easily double up your stages because there's a vanilla version for all of them, and then they have a Fated Retribution version, and that's the version in the console. So you could right there just double your stages. Just do it.
Hear me out. Maybe not even guest characters. What about just more guest stages?
Yeah,
another Bandai Namco property
for sure.
I think like you run the risk of it getting like really corny really quickly, right? But I think that there's some that they could do, and I think like to me the Final Fantasy stage. As much as Noctis is just like a blight on humanity, I think the stage is really cool, right? No, I'm serious. The stage is dope. I like the stage.
Oh yeah, that's great. Gas
the
station?
stage is tight. Like they did that, and it's pretty tasteful. I think they could do more stuff like that. Which brings me to my next point. Hear me out, okay? Season pass, they remove characters. Yeah, I would pay to remove Noctis and Negan. I would pay. Yo, get Noctis, Negan, Chloe. There's at least 4 or 5 characters. You can take them out. I'll pay for the season pass. Get rid of these.
I'm a scrub. Get rid of Eddy too. Fuck it.
Let's go.
Get rid of Chloe. Oh, we in there. Come on.
Give everybody what they want. Put Tifa in there, but it's got to come at a cost. We got to get rid of Noctis, Negan, and Chloe. I'm down. I'm super down. I'm super about it, man. Sign me up. That's an instant buy.
But that'd be so. You're not about to know excitement.
Money. Let's go.
But you're right. Instead of Tekken 7 Season 7 with 77 characters, let's have Season 7 with rollback netcode, with a bunch of quality of life features. That would do so much more, and it would be much.
Even now,
more sensible.
If you think about the strength of the Tekken series up until now, right? One reason why it's so popular in arcades traditionally is because it is a kind of casual friendly game, right? At least on the surface, it looks that way, right? You're pressing buttons, shit's just happening on the screen. You're like, "Woo, this is great! I'm mad good at this game."
Cool too.
Obviously, you're garbage, but like the thing is, you're pressing buttons. It's a very responsive game, right? So the thing is, to me, I feel like if you just focus on adding more to the I want to see them just go ham with the package, man. Add Tekken Force back, man. Make it into a tutorial or some shit, add more artwork, more stages, more music. I want the package to be fulfilled. Like you said, even netplay. I think that's something that's on a lot of people's mind. I think you can do that. The game to me doesn't really feel like it's hit its
peak.
I think it still has like a lot of gas left.
Definitely.
I really think there should be a season 4, and one of the main reasons is that season 3 has kind of pitted out in a sad way. There are so many controversies, and it hasn't been received well. I want if Tekken 7 goes out, I want it to go out with a bang. I really want it to I don't want it to end like this, because when I think of some of my favorite FGC moments, a lot of them are the past couple of years, and a lot of them are Tekken 7, like Kudan's comeback, Rangchu winning TWT. The whole Pakistani invasion, it was insane. It was like something from an anime.
Good storylines,
for sure.
So many good storylines. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like season 3 didn't really have that. Besides, some characters were really dumb.
Most of it was negative. Yeah. All the storylines in season 3 were mostly negative.
Well,
it's a shame.
Part of that is, let's be honest. part of that is you're saying like a lot of the negative storylines and stuff. Dude, there hasn't been that much since Evo Japan events have been done. So a lot of this is just because, dude, there's no events to carry. There's no events to showcase the game. People aren't just going to get on social media and talk positively about Fahkumram. That's not going to happen. So all they have to go off of is just this negative, like, online convo. People are bored in their homes. They're like, you know, if I'm going to just make 7 Reddit threads on Michael Murray's face. You know, like, I guess, man. Do what you would. It makes you happy, I suppose, but that's really weird, you know? There hasn't been that many platforms for that's every fighting game right now. You know, that we come back to that conversation. I mean, man, this whole thing has highlighted just like, you know, man, offline is so good. Offline is
it really
so good,
does.
It's great.
And it also highlights how much developers owe tournament organizers, because they run this shit, really. Like, fighting games would be nothing without tournaments, without offline, without the community. You have to realize this is a symbiotic relationship between the devs, the community, and the organizers.
I mean, like, the events hard carry like promoting these games. This if this era doesn't show you that, then I don't know what will, man. You know,
it's a huge exposure. It's so blatant, in my opinion. It's so blatant. It just goes to show, without events, it's hard to care. Without events,
and Eris tweeted that video, and it's another Eris barking at the moon video again, I guess. But I don't think it's controversial. I think everybody's had that on their mind. You know, if you've been playing a long time, everybody's been thinking it. You know, everybody's been saying that stuff. It's not. You know, the offline events carry these games, man, in terms of promoting it, showing them off, showing what they can be, showing what's behind the game. Yeah. It's wild, man. This stuff is no me gusta, bro. I don't like this at all.
Yeah. And as we were saying at the beginning of the show, beginning of this episode, like it's adapt or die right now. I mean, the ball is in the devs' court. What are you gonna do with this situation?
both metaphorically and realistically, right?
For sure. But I guess at the same time, it's hard to implement far-reaching changes when your staff can't even sit in the same room. So it's not just rough for us, man. It's rough for them too, dude. You know, they're human.
Imagine your SNK or Arc System Works right now. You have a game coming out that's scheduled for release, and you have to remotely put that thing together. You know, that's not easy.
That must be insane.
Or I guess if in the case of Japan, you don't have to remotely do it. You have to just risk your life every day going to work. You know,
essentially.
Either way, it's not good.
There's this misconception that Japan is this technologically advanced culture.
Bro, you don't know anything,
right? Like,
yo, turn that fax machine on. Turn that fax machine on.
Do you know, like, electronic stores have been packed with people buying their first computer to send their first, like, email or use Word from home? Like,
that's wild.
That's insane. Like,
can I tell you?
Go for it, dude.
You know Gen, right?
Gen,
the Tekken.
Oh yeah. He plays Shaheen, right? Remember, get the wrong.
So when I signed him first, I was like, check your Gmail account. I sent you the contract. And he was like, what's Gmail? like that kind of shit. I was like,
did you have to send it from line? You had to send it to line?
People have this like you said, man, people have this impression in Japan. Like, oh man, the robots everywhere. Like, no, bro. No. Just turn that I got a fax coming through. Don't pick up the phone. Like that kind of stuff. Like that's real life.
It's the boonies. Yeah.
Contract by line messages.
I'm like, dude, what's your Gmail account? He's like, what's that? I'm like, what do you mean? What's that?
He's a young kid too, so that blows my mind even more.
How have you made it to college? You don't know what a goddamn Gmail account is? That's Japan, bro. That's Japan.
That's crazy. You gotta know that.
I'm not surprised. I'm not.
I'm not. I was at first, and then I was like, oh wait, I know where I am.
I am surprised because how old is he? Like, I mean, the one surprising thing is, like, how old is he?
18.
What, right?
He just turned 18.
I don't believe that.
He just graduated high school. He's 18.
You didn't know what Gmail was at 18?
Where's he from? Like, is he from?
He's from Fukuoka.
Fukuoka?
Isn't Gifu, well,
like the fourth biggest city in Japan.
The point is, that's Japan, right?
Yeah.
Like, even something that I would just assume normal human beings with, more than 2 brain cells have, like, you don't know what it is, but I mean, that's just perspective, right? It's not about like, you have that image right here of it being like technologically advanced. It's such a paradoxical country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where at the same time, I guess maybe in the 90s and late 80s, it kind of really had that feel, but it's still there is the thing, some way, many ways.
In a lot of the ways, like the technology has it's at the standstill of kind of this late 80s, early 90s kind of future retro. Like what people imagine the future would be like in like Blade Runner.
We live in an alternate reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
This is a simulation. This is just like
Japan still feels like especially Tokyo still feels like a cartoon to me in a lot of ways. For all we know, we're sitting here talking. We're just crayons on paper. Hooked into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Baby faces in the
baby
Matrix.
face.
Yo, hold on.
The Revelations reference. That was too good.
I'm hopping in the pilot seat. I'm taking control of this thing. We're going off in too many tangents. Julie, what did GG Strive and GranBlue versus? And I would even expand this question.
Oh, okay. All right.
What do GG Strive, GranBlue versus BB Tag, Dragon Ball Fighters together say about the direction the Arc System Works is going in? Shoot.
It's clear that they're going for a much more simplified approach across the board with all their mechanics. Every single game they have. Every single game, it's just little by little. It started with Dragon Ball. Then it went to, BlazBlue, and then it went to GranBlue. Every single game has decreased in difficulty and complexity with each release.
Julian, I'm sure you know this. I got called a cyberbully because I couldn't stop talking shit about BB Tag. I don't even like that BB Tag has the same name as BlazBlue because I feel like it's false advertisement.
I think so too, because I honestly believe it's not a BlazBlue game.
It's not. Like, people, y'all don't know, man. If y'all don't play, y'all don't know that game.
Yeah, and I played that
by
game.
the time BB is done, that game is wild. It's great. It's incredible in a lot of ways. But that game is wild. BB Tag is such a far departure from that. It's not. It doesn't. It shouldn't even have the same name. I think it's false advertising.
It's literally only in BlazBlue. I agree with Mod. It's only BlazBlue and name only.
Name.
Yeah. This is something you said to me in Korea. I remember, Majin, that Guilty Gear Strive shouldn't be called Guilty Gear. Like that was your main objection with it. Like what if it was called envious eagle or something? I don't know. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, do you think a lot of the controversy, I guess, with Strive would still be there if it was called something else? Is the main issue that this is called Guilty Gear?
Yo, I apologize. Hold on, I got a package. I'll be right back. Can you edit this out? Edit this out.
Yeah. We can. Let's take a 1 minute break, guys.
Sure.
And we'll be right back. What were we talking about? What was the question?
You asked me about should Strive be a new one.
All right, let's roll back. Okay, so, Martin, do you think Guilty Gear Strive should have been called Guilty Gear?
Selfishly, hell no. No, quite frankly. But
I
also recognize, man, if you think about, like zoom out real quick, media in general, there are not that many new IPs, period, man, in the past 15 years or so. That shit is risky. It's perceived as risky to make a new IP, right? Look at how many, like Hollywood, dude, is just like nonstop. Yo, sequel. Clock out. Remake the sequel. It's nonstop, dude. They keep doing it for a reason. They're not trying to experiment. They're not trying to, they're sticking with what works. Fighting game. How many new IPs have there been in the past 10 to 15 years if you don't look at indie game? In the past 10 years.
Can't even think of them.
No, I can think of one. I can think of a single one.
Are we including like DB, like Dragon Ball or GranBlue?
No, Dragon Ball's that's an established IP. You know,
right.
GranBlue's established IP. There's only been one, I think. GranBlue, and that's Under Night.
Yeah, Under
Night is the only fresh new IP that's been done in a fighting game like that. And you could say Blade Strangers, but even that benefits from like a bunch of features. Million Arthur, I guess, to a degree. You could say that, but like it obviously not as strong an impact. When you talk about, pretty much it's Million Arthur and Under Night, basically. Yeah. When you think about it like that, you realize, first of all, fighting games are just risky as hell anyway. Second, new IP. You're talking big risk there. You know, I recognize. You know, this is part of the problem when there's like no transparency and we're forced to kind of speculate. But how do I know that? For example, maybe like the investor, maybe the people at the top were like, you can't make another Guilty Gear unless it's like this. I don't know.
That's very real.
That could be the case. I don't know. But me personally, I can't say that it doesn't feel like GG. I can't say, I'm not going to say something like that hard. But yeah, I think if they were going to go in this kind of direction and this was the kind of ideas that they wanted to explore, I would have liked to have seen a new IP. Not even on the fact that I didn't want GG to go this route, but just on the fact that, I think it's a new IP would have been sick, you know? Something to experiment on that regard. I'm about it on that front, you know? But yeah, I do kind of share a sentiment like that Julian kind of expressed earlier, where it's like this game had this kind of image going into this, right? Had this kind of image, had this kind of feel, where now it's such a large departure from that I feel it's kind of uncomfortable personally. That doesn't mean anything about my ability to enjoy it or my capacity to enjoy or whatever. But I honestly, I'm not saying I want to feel that way. That's just honestly how I feel.
Yeah. Julian, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it should have been called something else, or?
It's similar to what Majin says. Like in my heart, I want to say no. It's not Guilty Gear. Like it's something almost completely different. But at the same time, making IP, it's especially in this new generation of consoles, it's so hard. Like in general, not just fighting games, but in normal games too. It's just sequels, remakes as well. It's risky as hell. So I understand why they put Guilty Gear on that. I just kind of wish it just didn't depart so heavily from previous titles like Exert. Like it just dreads so much that it's hard. Like I'll still enjoy it, but at the same time, there's that part of me in the back of my head that's a little sad that that the experience I had before can't be replicated again. I have to play Exert Reveler 2, which is fine, but still makes me sad. Like I can play the new Zato. I'm hyped for him. Like I'm hyped for new Zato. I love Zato. I'll play any game that I get to play Zato in. It doesn't matter to me. But there's always a part of me I went, what if, like what if they, still did some new changes, but didn't just go so radically different at the same time. There's a part of me that feels a little sad because of that.
Is there one change that stands out above? Because we've talked about wall mechanic, a little bit about the Gatling and all that. We haven't really talked about the air dash yet. Maybe we can get into that. But is there one change above all the others that makes this feel not Guilty Gear to you?
Gatlings for you.
Gatlings, and then neutral in the air in that order. Like, because when you do the Gatlings and you can't, go from kick, like punch to kick, it just feels weird and intrusive. Like it's just so odd because I feel like I don't want to assume for them, but maybe they did that to make it easier. They changed the Gatlings, but I feel like it's harder.
Like but I feel like it made it harder. Yeah, and they put links now. Like there's links instead, which is super confusing to me. Like I actually don't get it. Like why?
I'm so confused as to what is the thought process behind the new Gatling system, because PKS, HS Dust. I mean, that's really simple to understand, and it meant even a beginner can pick up Guilty Gear and do a throwaway combo. But now you've replaced that with a series of rules. Like there are like 7 rules behind the Gatling system now, and links, which I mean that's something that fighting games have been trying to get away from, if anything. It's more of a Street Fighter thing, actually, links. And some of them are quite tight, actually, the link combos.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than GranBlue's, I'll tell you that much. It's or at least for me, it was a little bit more annoying to do, which is so weird.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, if the Gatling changes are designed in accordance with the rest of the game to bring in new players, then it's completely counterproductive in that respect. I don't know what they were going for, really.
When I think about the Gatlings, when I think about the air dash changes, when I think about the wall breaks, I can't pick just one. What I would instead pick is this. I would pick their mentality that there's something wrong with GG. I would pick the mindset of that we have to reinvent the wheel. I would pick the mindset of, instead of focusing on building a better pack for our game, building something that we can entice people with and something that'll keep people playing win or lose, instead of having a focus on that and how they market the game, how they advertise it, finding unintuitive ways to remake a wheel. Like, bro, we're like several millennia past the wheel, man. You don't have to we have tanks. We have tanks.
It rolls, bro.
I'm saying, man, have you seen the Hummer? Have you seen those things? We have spinning rims now, man. What are you doing trying to remake that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, that, I think, is the big thing, especially when it's unintuitive and not cohesive, right? When you're like, hey, man, at what point do you lose faith in people to not go A, B, C, D, E and press 5 buttons?
That's actually insane to me.
What, that? It was like that to begin with to make it easy. You literally just dial it. You can be completely. You don't have to know anything about the game. You run up to somebody, punch, kick, slash. Punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, dust.
Yeah.
That was never. That I don't think anyone's ever struggled with that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was ever a big deal. So it's really weird for me to see them be like, oh yeah, that's too hard now. It wasn't too hard for 15 years, man. What are you talking about? It wasn't 20 years. It wasn't too hard. Now all of a sudden, people born after 1999 can't press 5 buttons. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, change is good.
It's a lot of, but a lot of all that stuff comes from this weird mindset that I don't understand. That's what I would want addressed, and that's what I would want. Because I think that's where all this comes from.
Right. It almost comes across as a lack of confidence in their own game, in their own IP, which is wild to me. Because, I mean, despite the fact that it's not the most popular fighting game, I think Guilty Gear in any iteration is generally considered to be one of the best. I mean, one of the most fundamentally sound.
I feel like I'm in love with a girl. I'm like, hey, I love everything about you. You're like, you're smart, you're funny, I can talk to you all day, you're beautiful.
Bro, no self-confidence.
And she's like, I'm so fat!
Yeah.
No, you look good, girl. You look good.
You look great, come on.
I like everything about no, you look good, don't you? I'm changing everything. No, don't do that, no.
I'm shaving my hair. No.
I feel like I'm torn.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. It honestly breaks.
Who could ever love me? I love you. I do.
We love you. It's no.
No one can love me. I'm a heifer. Just no, that's not. No, you look good. You're fine. But when you evaluate things based on results, and those results are dollars and money signs, without the proper, I think, perspective to understand why that is, I think that's what leads to this.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now you're like, well, they're liking everybody else. Why not me? Well, are you putting yourself out there? No. Are you, are you doing what you can to create a positive ecosystem? Are you doing what you can to create an even stronger product than you already had? It's already a good product, Can you bolster that even more? No.
I think, so much has been said about the UI, but it's so indicative of the changes for the sake of changes mentality. Because I don't even the whole Zelda Hearts thing for rounds. It's just so weird and counterintuitive. it's the complete opposite of how any other fighting game ever operates. I mean, it's you literally have nearly 3 decades of hard coding into your brain to see, okay, so a little blip, oh, that means I won a round. Now it's the reverse. You lose a heart, which means you lost a round. I had a similar like kind of feeling about the meter bar in GranBlue Versus. We've been trained to look at the bottom of the screen since Super Turbo to look for meter. And it's almost a reflexive thing now for fighting gameplay. It's just to flick your eyes to the bottom. Okay, that's my meter.
Now you gotta look up.
Now you gotta look up, and I never know if I have meter in GranBlue Versus. I'm like, oh shit, I could have supered and ended it there constantly.
Now you gotta look up. I think like, you know, even GranBlue, I think overall the UI is not bad. I think it looks pretty good, but there's like a couple little things, right? So it's like that. It's also, in my opinion, like the cooldown timer. They're not
big, and they're not.
They don't stand out enough. You know what I mean? Like when it's
hard to read.
Versus,
it's hard to read.
That should be something that like peripheral vision. You
exactly.
know, when I feel like a lot of times I actually have to look, or I just have to know the time. You know,
it would have made so much more sense if those icons were bigger and on the top row underneath the life bar, and you move the meter bar down to give that space. Because as you said, I mean, it's almost like they brought an RPG mentality to it, where you think you have the time to sit down and look at all these cooldown bars, which you don't in a fighting game. It's literally a impulsive, reflexive flick of your eyes to see, okay, this is how much life I have, like a nanosecond.
Yeah, aside from GranBlue and Soul Calibur, I can't think of it. Can I think of any other examples like that? I don't know. Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, Soul Calibur does that too, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I think it might just be. And again, Soul Calibur.
Off the top of my head, I'd have to look.
And Soul Calibur gives you visual indicators when you might have bar. I think like the characters flash.
Yeah. Well, it's that, and then also like dynamic color changes too, right?
Exactly.
Like green and yellow, right?
Yeah.
That's the colors.
Yeah. And in the final round, your character does like a little key charge. You're like, well, okay, now I have meter for sure. So there's stuff like that which helps. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just going back to the changes are good, but changes for the sake of changes, especially when they're not backed up with any kind of cohesive.
Frustrating.
And that's the point that I think I think is a lot of people have difficulty understanding.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate that the discourse now is, oh, you just don't want change, you're old, jaded, blah, 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 and they just write off your opinion. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm listening. I know how difficult this is for people, but there's a difference between hearing and listening. Listen to me. It's not that I don't want change. It's that I don't want change for the sake of it. I don't want change with zero rhyme or reason. Or with a bad, you know, what I perceive as bad. There has to be a logic to that I just I think sometimes it's just very difficult to see, you know.
So if we were to like kind of write up a wish list for changes we'd like to see in Strive, I mean, this is going to kind of go into kind of fan fiction territory, I guess. But what would you like to see? What changes from the beta to the final game would you like to see them implement? I mean, of course, everyone's talking about the lobby system. I think it has to go. I mean, from a pure conceptual basis.
We don't have to waste time talking about UI lobbies.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's so obviously below industry standard, you know. Yeah. But then again, they've already changed it once, and it still looks like that. So I don't even know if I can say that. You know, maybe we do have to talk about it. Maybe you do have to emphasize that. Yeah. For the sake of this question, I it's a cop-out answer, but I go back to what I said before. If I could change anything, it's their mindset on how they built the game. Who are they making it for? What are they making some of these decisions? Who are they making some of these decisions? Because it's not players. Yeah. Some of them just, I mean, they aren't, you know? At least in my opinion, I don't think they are.
Yeah.
Why? At what point did they lose confidence in their own IP? You know, that's the part that I want to change. You know, in the survey they're talking about guest characters. I'm like, bro, put Guilty Gear in the game first. Like, Don't even think about like you're talking about like putting Negan in the game and all that. I'm like, no, like, you know, like let's try to get some in there first. You know,
It's
that
true.
was on, I was on the survey. I just like I saw that question. I just smiled. I'm like, yes, Karen. What are you talking? You shouldn't even be thinking about that right now. You know,
Put Guilty Gear in the game.
Can we put GG?
It's crazy because like after I played the beta, like after the initial high of playing the game, like I had fun. Like I thought, like what are they making this game for? Because it's what we said about the Gatling chains. Make it easier, but these links are harder and more weird. Like
the questions that I keep circling back to.
Yeah.
Who is this for? What is this for? Who is this?
Yeah,
and I feel like it's in so many different ways. I always keep coming back to those questions.
Yeah.
And I legit just don't have answers. I don't even know. Because at least if it was like, it's just for new people. Like, that's okay, that's cool. But then some of the stuff is harder. So I'm like, is it for new people? I don't know. And there's a lack of consistency there that I think is really difficult for me to wrap my head around. And I'm not trying to just get on here and bash or anything like that, right? It's not that.
Of course not.
But I'm just being honest with how I feel on the inside. I honestly feel like it's very difficult to wrap my head around a lot of the decision making. And again, to the point that I was making earlier, it's not like Tekken when we necessarily have that line communication or that open line of communication with devs, or there's not even somebody we can talk to about this. Kind of just have to wait for them to make their next media appearance and talk to other people about it and see how you feel then. But that's where it is. I can't even give you a wish list, Ari. It's a mindset thing to me.
Yeah,
it's honestly like a mindset and a like philosophy.
Yeah.
It's too many little things, in my opinion. And it's not even to say that GG has always been like what we're talking about when we say XX and when we say X. It hasn't always been that way. You can go buy the original Guilty Gear on your Nintendo Switch right now for $3, something like that, and you can play and you can see. It's not like it was always. It had a first version once upon a time. There were many changes made throughout the game that led to those points. I'm not saying you necessarily have to start at those points, but some of the changes, some of the idea, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough for me.
It's just so confusing. It's confusing. Like you try to think it logically. Like I'm not trying to bash them either. I'm trying to think it logically. Like, okay, there's got to be a reason, and then things contradict each other. And you're like, wait, hold up. And then exactly, you go back to your original question, and just it's like a circle. It's like it's with most of the big ones like Airdashes or Gatlings. It just you think you have an answer like, oh, it's for beginners, but it's like, oh wait, but there's like 4 links you have to do for an optimal combo.
I don't know.
There's a real
it's a really hard question to answer. To be honest,
it does seem really scatterbrained and like a lack of vision, a lack of kind of direction. I mean,
cohesive vision, cohesive
vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's just to briefly touch on the air dash actually, because that's a very specific thing. Because I think when people saw that, a lot of people thought, oh, okay, air dashes are nerfed. It's going to be more ground based. If anything, air dashes are way harder to anti-air because you can change your trajectory depending on when you press a button coming out of it. I found it so hard to anti-air that. It might be because that's
a good example of knee-jerk reactions from Western community on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, they made it easier. Look at this glyph. Actually, dude, it's way harder now. If anything, it makes it kind of contributed to the kind of rabbit neutral that the game, right?
Yeah,
so the game feels very good moving along the ground, but the game also kind of encourages while jumping. And actually, is when you add faultless defense cancel jumps into it, which only a few characters had previously, right? They have the ability to faultless defense cancel their jumps to change trajectory on the fly like that. Now everybody can do it.
Yeah.
And some characters have bigger return on it than most, especially on Oki. You can't even react to some of the stuff. But if we could, about what Kai was doing, right? I was trying to do that with Axel.
Oh yeah.
Like the faultless defense cancel, like that's nasty. That ain't beginner friendly. I'll tell you that. That shit. But
it's like unseeable cross up.
Unseeable cross up, empty low, same side or throw. Like it's literally like dice roll. You know, you can do whatever whatever.
And it's day one.
And then do it again. Yeah, and then do it again. You know, so the movement to me felt a little bit sluggish in the air as a result. But in close quarters, once people start to get in the jumping range, then it's all bets are off. You can't react to that. Can't.
Yeah.
Too hard. And as a result, anti-airs, if you don't have a DP, anti-airs generally were pretty weak.
You need a DP. You like your forward punch, or your 6P is
or Soul 5K. Soul 5K was still functional in that regard, but 6Ps generally outside of May, I felt pretty weak.
Yeah.
Oh, especially as Axel boys. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Especially
no. Bandit Bringer, the way that they sped it up with the hitbox expansion, like
man.
What used to just be like anti-air, you're working super hard to get this anti-air for minimal return.
Yeah,
he taps you with that thing one time.
You're dead.
You're eating 90%. You're going to the wall, like bro, it's over.
It's and Axel, like his rewards, like he just smacks you once. You can't special cancel if they get close enough to hit him. So you just smack him and go,
Yeah, it's like just to kind of to summarize thoughts on the air dash. It's air to ground. It's a lot better, but air to air, it's not as useful. Because it's slow.
Well, yeah, just because there's also like there's not as many ways to milk return from it, and then you're more limited in terms of what you can do in those situations, right?
Exactly.
So, like Axel, I guess had some decent return opportunities, and if you get jump punch, you could go in the snail or something like that. But generally, there's not that much you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're encouraged to just like a rabbit, go in.
That's a trend, actually. That is a trend with a lot of modern fighting games.
It sounds eerily familiar to some games we've seen in the 4 or 5 years. I'm not saying anything, but I'm glad you made that inference. I'm glad you read that.
I mean, look, when the game that shall not be named first came out, people were like, "Oh, well, my anti-airs suck. There's 7 frames of input delay. How do I play a defensive footsie games? My normals all suck."
You gotta be good, man. You gotta be good. You're good. You have to become one with. I'm not saying anything. You're gonna give me trouble. But
yeah.
I definitely felt that way. And maybe that's just me talking on my ass. Maybe maybe that's just me. But that's how I felt.
Do you think that the game is going to undergo a massive overhaul between now and whenever it gets released, or do you think they're going to stick to this vision?
I think it can if they delay it.
Yeah, I second that. If it goes to fall, absolutely not. But
I think it can if they, like you're saying, it can if they delay it, right? But if they don't, I don't know if there's that much they can change, to be honest.
There's way too little time. I don't think people quite realize that with game development. Like it goes gold like a couple months before it's released. So it's like there's no way.
And to be honest, Julie, I feel like even if they do delay it, it's still not a ton of time they can buy them. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's supposed to come out holidays.
Like approaching this with some goodwill, right? They've at least shown the fact that they're willing to listen.
Absolutely.
So I have to give them due props. But with just looking at the calendar, man, I don't know. I don't know that there's that much time for them to really change it.
And it clearly seems like they've been at this for a while. I mean, we got a comment: a rushed game is bad forever, but a delayed game
is always good.
The Miyamoto thing.
It's a good quote, right?
But I just feel that, as you said, there's a lack of vision here. Like you can have all the time in the world, but if you don't know what you're aiming for, it's still going to come out like a half-baked mess. Like if the basis, if the thought process, the direction isn't solid, they could have another 3 years on this. But if they don't get a unified direction,
especially since this game is not going to have an arcade release to see a lot of those kinks before it comes out in the final product, right?
Yeah.
So that makes me really nervous now, man. I'm like, the reason why is because I think GG is a game that has to do everything perfectly for people to give it a shot.
Oh yeah.
In the West anyway. So if this game comes out and if it's a typical first version of a fighting, which are rarely super good, right?
Yeah. And another comment is, if they delay it too much, then it's going to conflict with next gen. I mean,
it's going to conflict with next gen. It also gets stupid expensive at that point, so you can't justify that either.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if this thing comes out first version and it's not firing on all cylinders, it's not godlike in every way. How many people of this how many new players are they going to bring in are going to wait for them to update and to get it to the point where I'm not confident that goal is achieved that way. Me personally, I'm just not confident. Maybe they do it. Maybe it comes out. Maybe this game comes out. It's fantastic. They listen to all the feedback. They change everything. It comes out. It's cool. I'm happy as hell. I'm rooting for it. Even if I don't play this game, I'm still happy. Because like I said, we talked about this earlier. This game now has more writing on it than just GG. This game has more writing on it now because of that rollback. Everything changed once they added that.
Oh yeah.
So now you have to imagine other JP devs are looking at this. Other JP there's lots of attention on this. It's not just Capcom anymore. The second you get that second or third company on that train, now people are looking a little bit more close. Okay, so it didn't work the first time with this company. What about this company? Let's see how they do. So now there's more writing on this. There's more for the genre writing. If you play Tekken, if you play KOF, doesn't matter what the hell you play, Smash Brothers even. There's something riding on it.
Yeah.
So now if it comes out and it flops for whatever reason, I'm almost nervous that other people might look at that and take that as a mark. They shouldn't worry so much about that.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from. My thing is everybody can get a W out of this, no matter what side you're on. Everybody has the potential to get a W out of it. But right now, I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, man, if this thing doesn't come out and it's firing on all cylinders on release, I don't know how this is going to go down,
Yeah, and we were talking about earlier about outrage culture, about hyperbolic negativity and how it spreads on social media. I think it's really important for people to temper their expectations for the first version of any game, even if this was looking tight.
Absolutely,
the first version will be filled with jank. It's unavoidable without an arcade release. It's gonna be bullshit.
I mean, that's literally fighting games. That's fighting games, like the history of fighting.
Yeah. And actually, simplifying fighting games tends to result. Robbing options, stripping away options, tends to make stronger set play. Tends to result in stronger set play. Like if you look at Street Fighter 4, for example, the first version of that was just Vortex Heaven because you didn't really have many. Yeah,
I remember that.
And I imagine that the first version of Strive is going to be like that. It's going to be like whoever gets knocked down first dies. And the characters who are good at enforcing, like people were saying, this game doesn't have Okizeme. No,
it definitely does. It definitely does.
It's going to have really oppressive Okizeme.
Dude, the second I saw SKD do that FTC stuff with Kai, I was like,
yeah, I remember seeing that too. I was like, oh, brother.
So then I started trying to do it with Axel. Like, I couldn't get his jump punch version to do it very well to get him high, but the low,
dude,
that's unseeable. That's unseeable cross up low. You can't block that.
That's cheap.
I don't even know if it's hidden. I don't even know.
People were saying no Oki, no combos. Now you have like unseeable left, right, up, down,
and everything.
Okay,
and
everything combos for like 90%. So
it's this weird thing with like they take away options, right? But they increase damage. Like I've noticed that's a trend in a lot of current ArcSys games. At least that's coming out. It's like they take away options little by little, but they increase damage by a crap load. Like I see that.
I'm generally just I like
so
options.
interesting.
That's part of why I like some of those games, right? Is because I mean, to me, especially like like I always go back to like Accent Core. Like when you're learning all the systems like that and all your options like that, like it's so cool, dude. Like you can fucking fly, man. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Oh, Accent Core, yeah.
Like you really. It sounds like I'm being like I'm exaggerating, obviously, but like there's a high degree of flexibility there that I think a lot of people really like, And so like when you gravitate away from that to being like more rigid, more like you should do this, like play this way. I'm not the biggest fan. Like it just doesn't feel very.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think even more than the game that shall not be named, I felt the guiding hand more in Strive than perhaps any fighting game I've ever played. Like they really are encouraging the pacing of a game, of the matches, to go in a certain way. And how long is it going to take before that gets dull? Even by the end of the 3 days, I was feeling like, man, all of these matches feel kind of similar.
Yeah, and to be fair, games, I mean, y'all know this as well as I do. Sometimes they take a while to develop before the real gameplay reveals itself. Sometimes it might appear as during the beta the first 2 or 3 days. That might be radically different than how it looks, a few weeks down the line.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But it definitely felt that way. It definitely felt that way, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. We still don't, I mean, we can't say we don't know anything, but we're still absolute beginners, and there's so much unexplored territory, and this game could go off in a variety of directions. But
we'll see. All we can do is really, be hopeful, man. Yeah, hopefully they listen to the constructive criticism and the stuff that people put out there, and they take it to heart. I know that's probably not easy for a development team to hear. There's a lot of people I know that have been working really hard on this game, and that can't be fun either. Too, when you get online and there's a bunch of people just bashing stuff that you worked months on.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah, I mean that can't be fun. We don't really I feel like there's not enough empathy between us and the devs on both sides. That can't be fun, but hopefully they're at least willing to look at listen to it and not take it personally or anything like that. I hope that's the case. And just consider what we're saying.
I just hope they don't look at all that feedback and just they're just completely despaired, right? They can take it and hopefully use it to improve rather than just be completely.
Because to be honest with you, for as many shit posts as there's been a lot of constructive stuff too. I just hope that they, how can I say, that they can kind of let that ego go for a bit, because and I'm not even saying they're stuck up or anything, but naturally, if you create something, if you invest time, this, do you y'all? I mean, y'all stream, y'all make you make this whole fucking channel is made off your hard, many people's hard labor, right? If somebody comes in, dude, we're on YouTube, man. The YouTube comment section, I know all about that. I know you got some Goombas in here that just typing all kinds of crazy shit.
I feel you, dude. I feel you.
Yeah. So on some level, you're whatever, it's a YouTube comment. But on a very basic level, nobody does that. You put time and effort into something, you create something that's fun for you. That's an experience for you. You make something. And then having people just come in here and just literally just dookie in their hand and throw it at you, that's not fun. Nobody likes that. But, hopefully they're able to kind of, see past that and understand that, we're rooting for him. Hell, I think a lot of people have that impression, they just want to tear down the game. Are you kidding? No, dude.
Hell no, dude.
We want this to be successful. We want this to be successful. Go for it.
Julian, I would never ever play this card. I would never ever play this card, but because it sounds very entitled. I don't even like talking. I put more money and time into this game than 99.9%.
Yeah, I believe it.
Into the GGIP. There's way and I'm saying me. There's people that put in even way more than me. But I think I put in a lot more than. What the hell sense would it make for me to just want shit to be that doesn't make any sense. I'm rooting for him. Hell. I want it to turn out successful. Not even just for GG, but for everybody. I think everybody can get a W out of it, a big W.
Yeah. A lot riding on this. A lot riding.
But in order to achieve that, I'm also not willing to lie to people. I got to be honest. I'm not going to treat you with kitty gloves. I can't do that. Because it means more to me than I think maybe you think it. Consider that.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, it's the next poster boy for the validity of rollback netcode in fighting games. And that's a huge thing. That could potentially change the whole genre.
This game succeeding can change so much for the better.
Yeah.
So we're all rooting for it. None of us wants to see it fail. At least I can say we both don't. I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
but at the same time,
who wants to see fighting games fail? Who wants to see any game fail? I mean,
real there's stuff that people disagree with, and they don't want to see that propagate, right?
Yeah.
But there's nobody that actually sets out and says, "Yeah, I want this I I want this thing to fail. No one actually has that thought, you know? I was going to say a joke here, but never mind. I'm done.
Damn.
I was like, unless you're talking about this game, you know, or whatever. Like insert game, right?
But it's gonna be taken out of context. And
no, I'm just messing.
Yeah,
but like, yeah, nobody. I don't think people actually think that way. I think there's certain ideals. There's certain things that get created with certain ideals, and people don't want to see that be successful. That ideal, or that. But the game itself, I don't think anybody wants to see some of their IPs go down the toilet, dude. Nobody wants that, you know.
For sure. I mean, just to round things up, are there any other topics you want to bring up? Maybe Zato. Like, what do you want to see in Zato in Strive, and what are you hoping for, expecting?
With the 15 seconds that we saw in that clip, 15, 20 seconds. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I'm just happy he's in the game. Like, I was already expecting it to be completely different. I play Relius and BlazBlue, so I don't care if he plays that game. And if he doesn't, that's fine too. Like, I'm just a Zato fanboy. I just want him in the game, and he's in the game, so I can't really ask for much more.
Yeah.
But he looks pretty cool. I just want him to hopefully at least maintain some of the things that makes him Zato. Like, he's probably not going to play like a puppet character anymore. That's okay, but at least have a little bit of complexity. Because that's what makes Zato so much fun for me. Is that he was always like this character that is so freeform. And Gatlings is a very freeform game, but like Zato is even more so. You can play that character.
He's a character that asks a lot out of you.
He does.
But if you submit yourself to the darkness, you have an incredible game presence that very few characters in fighting game period have.
It's true.
When you play someone who is really good with that character, you're like, this is so unlike any other match. Honestly, if we were on some Smash Brothers shit, I would say ban him. Honestly, Zato should be banned. He should be. No wobbles in this house.
They basically banned him in Rev 2. Leave me alone, man.
No wobbles in this house.
I love it when the lore of the game and the gameplay of the character
coincides with the game.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty good.
It's like Mishima's in Tekken. Like, they're challenging characters, and you have to give in to the devil.
They demand a lot out of you.
Yeah.
They demand a lot out of you. Yeah. Right, you want to run Heihachi in tournament? First of all, you got to be a glutton for punishment. Second, like you have to be ready to stand on that mountain and grind that shit. Grind the execution required. You got to be ready to grind that shit, and you better be ready to execute it. Pull the trigger when you need it, or you're not going to win.
Sure. That's true. I even double you more when Zato got nerfed in Rev 2. Like, it was either drop him or grind hard so you don't lose. And I chose grind hard, like, because that's how much I like the character. And I was rewarded a lot. Like, I could still win with that character. People are like, oh, I'm glad he's nerfed. Like, that's fine. Like, that's okay. I understand. The character's cheap. He's still cheap. Like, you still have that screen presence. That's ridiculous. Like, no one else can do that. Like, that's even in Rev 2. Like, no one else can do that. No Baru drill. It's cheap. But I'm just excited to see what they're going to do with the character. I'm a little I'm curious how they're going to change it. I'm more curious than excited, but I'm just glad he's in the game, honestly. So that's for me.
Anyone you'd like to see? Any return? Returnees. I mean,
not Testament.
Not Testament.
the horror from Accent Core is still real from that.
It's too potent.
I'm pretty sure Jacko's never going to be in the game either, so I'm okay there.
Yeah. No,
I'm not worried.
I'm not even married to like characters, honestly. What I'm more interested to see is I'm interested to see what features and modes that they what have they been working on, right? Seeing that command list and how clean it is. When you consider sensibilities like that, what other stuff do they have planned? Like for a tutorial or mission mode or something. Coming off of GranBlue versus where you have the RPG mode, something like that in the game now too. That'd be really cool. I want to see stuff like that. I'm more interested. The character, I'll find the character. I'll find somebody that I can vibe with. I'm more worried about the package. I want to see packaging. Packages get me hyped. I want to play, I need the game to be delivered. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, that stuff is super exciting. Just to have a complete package, that's like all we've been asking for, like, honestly, for years now. So if we can get that with Strive, that'd be so sick.
The main menu looked like they were going for, the whole package, basically. You couldn't access anything, but I can't remember off the top of my head. but it seemed like all bases were basically covered there.
I hope so. Revelator's story was pretty cool. It's like a light novel. That was neat, for what it was. Hey, if you like that stuff, I liked it. It was cool. But...
I would like to see it. I think trend a little bit more to where it's like I said, it's more interactive or engaging.
Yeah,
it's easy. I think to kind of sit back and just hit play. It's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's. I'm not sure. Like, for a new person, that first of all, the story is it's awful. Like what is it? But maybe that's not the best way to draw people in. The character designs are really cool. Focus more, I think, on giving new players that kind of jump in, right? Like that, something interactive and engaging they can, and as opposed to just hit play and then they're watching Netflix.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of the story mode or whatever in Refs.
I think unless you're like one of these weird people on game FAQs, or that dude on Twitter who was getting that flow, who used to post on Dustloop, I don't think there's too many people like that.
Oh, that guy. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, legend. Infamous, let's say that.
Can you fill me on the lore here?
Dude, there is no lore. It's just like, you mean on the game or on the guy we're alluding to?
On the guy.
The guy.
The lore is there's this dude who was a massive shit poster on Dustloop back in the day, who you can tell by the way he talks does not play the game,
right?
But is a massive fan of the in-game lore.
Okay,
and for some reason, feels validated enough to check other people on their opinions or discussion on the gameplay.
There's always someone like that.
Don't worry about it, man. It's not worth it. It's just these big head dudes would don't worry about it.
Oh man, the Tekken community is filled with guys like that too. So
yeah, just like the big head dude, lurching over the keyboard like that.
I still remember when I made a tweet. It was like, I don't want Chris.
Hey, what are you doing, man? Go outside.
I still remember when I responded. I think Speed Kicks. I was like, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think Christy would be that great. Maybe another character is not a capo clone. I remember some person with Christy 64 says like, "How dare you? Christy's her own character." I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know nothing of guilty.
You know nothing of Christy. Shut up.
You know nothing of guilty here. I was on the anyway. Moving on.
Man, this reminds me what it must be like to be Ed Boon, and every time you open your Twitter, you just get this endless tirade of Melina.
I still saw it.
They don't even play Melina. Nobody even plays her.
She's not even good. She hasn't been good.
Nobody even really likes that. That's the crazy part.
I think in 10 she was like, okay.
I mean, Tekken's the same way, right? We want this character. Character comes out, nobody plays.
Nobody plays them. This happened with Lei. Everyone's like, yeah, Lei, and it comes out, nobody played it. Zafina, what? Arslan plays Zafina. A handful. You don't really see her that much.
I'm glad Grodd in Mortal Kombat. You're not.
I still see it.
We want Superboy Prime. Put him in Mortal Kombat. Yes, man.
So the Zafina, while the Zafina army was very amusing until that character came out. Where's Zafina?
To be fair, Zafina's actually low-key.
She's sick.
Yeah,
she's sick.
People do play
cool.
Zafina, and I think after DLC, Armor King is really popular. Armor King is super popular. A lot of people play Armor.
Oh yeah. He's sick, dude. He killed presentation. He kills it.
His redesign is awesome. His redesign is
it's
cool.
out of the park, man. It's he's cool just to just watch him in motion. It just sucks you don't get too many opportunities doing in competitive play, right? But
I it's the thing.
You have JDCR sometimes. That's about it.
Well, I mean, not recently,
Yeah, not recently. Oh no.
No. They really need to do something with Armor King because people love that character and they want to see more of that character. And it's a shame that the idea behind that character is that it's basically a watered down king, but with a few generic tools. I mean, that's not an exciting idea for a character. They really should. I don't know. I can't even think what
that speaks to the strength of the design. That's not an exciting idea, and yet when he's on screen, I'm captivated. I'm like, man, show me something.
He's so sick.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah, sure.
Where's Melina? I saw Ed Boon make it like a tweet like 2 days ago, like, about COVID or something. And literally the first one was, "Where's the Melina?" I just died. It's like, come on. Like, come on, man. There's a time and a place. Come on.
I can't imagine how he deals with that. I can't imagine how he deals with that. Like, I get mildly irritated when people are constantly like, "What?" The worst character for me is Where's Horong. It's like, dude, the videos are in alphabetical order. We've been doing them for 6 months now. How can you not realize? Still, every video. that must be a tiny fraction of what Ed Boon has to deal with.
I told you, I'm like Neo in the Matrix 3 all the time. I'm just face to face with the giant robot baby head.
You got the blindfold and everything.
Where's the Warong video? I just want peace. Let's create peace between our people. The humans, we will no longer urge. Just like you can't appease. Like, all you can do is hope to appease them. You can't stop them. You know what I mean? Like, they just rise up greater in number.
1 week's Zafina terrorist, another week's now Christie terrorist. It's just another day.
You cannot stop their hunger or thirst. All you can do is hope to appease. appeal to whatever empathy they have.
There's not a whole lot, so you have to try.
Or sympathy. Sympathy.
Yeah. I guess you just gotta shut.
That's a part of. Listen, the honest answer is that's a part of. Whenever you do something in public, there's certain things that you have to be ready to that come with that, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about content creation. Ed Boon makes a hugely popular
video game,
IP video games, with a meme movie, right? And a tight song, I guess. But the thing is, he has to be used to that to some degree by now, right? Because he's been obviously with the advent of social media now, people have even more of like a kind of one-to-one line. You like that? That's just one of the things that you have to be prepared to deal with, and it comes with the territory. Alongside getting thicker skin, you have to be prepared for people to just, man. The Dark Knight, that's a good ass movie. The Joker, he says it, man. He's like, some dudes ain't looking on, some dudes, they just want to watch shit burn. You have to understand that. You could put together some of the greatest shit ever. There's going to be somebody that just goes in there, dookies in their hands, and just wants to throw it at the screen.
Yeah. Another prescient quote from that movie: "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain." And it's true. There's always, especially for content creators, or actually, anyone in the public eye, really. There's always going to be a point where you fail in the public eye in some way, and we talked about outrage culture. I mean, then you become the pillory for a while, and then you might
have to come to terms with those A possibilities and be like, are you cool with that? Or can you does that define you?
Yeah.
Are you willing to let that define you?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely perks to this kind of job, this lifestyle. You get to do what you love for work, which is great. But yeah, that's one of the things you have to take on the chin, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're right.
Yeah. All right, guys, is there anything you wanna bring up, or any topics you really want to get out there?
I just hope that some down the line we can. I'm not saying going back to what things were, but hopefully the fighting game developers will understand it's not necessarily how complex these games are. It's what turning people away, but something else. I hope they can realize that it's not removing Gatlings is what make people want to stay. It's it's a complete package of the game, and I hope one day they can realize that. And I hope it's sooner rather than later, because it's like I said before, it's heartbreaking. It's a little heartbreaking to see, franchise after franchise like go down this path. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a little sad to see. And I hope one day maybe that changes. And if not, then
Yeah, especially when there's 3 to 4 games, 3 to 4 other games in the market that can already kind of occupy that goal that they're trying to go for, right?
Yeah.
It's like, at what point is too much?
Right.
Maybe they want a shorter cycle of games where, it's more of a focus on like a 2-year pattern where they milk as much out of this game, immediately go to the next one, try to just get that churn going. Maybe they want to profit. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good point that you bring up. All I would want to say is, look, man, there's the stuff that's happening right now it's bigger than fighting. It's bigger than any of us on here. It's bigger than us, right? There's
right.
Our events. We haven't. 2020 is a wash. I don't expect people to be traveling 2021. What I'm saying is 2022. Look, man, I just want everybody to put all the dumb shit away. Just cut that dumb shit, man. Let's go out to Eternal. Let's have some fun. Come 2022. Let's go fucking wild, man. When this shit comes back, I better see people out. Bruh, I want good vibes. I want people showing up to events. I want people thanking the people that run those events. When this stuff gets back on its feet again, man, it's not gonna be how it was before. But when you can go to whatever you can go to, be it your local, be it a big, maybe a larger event, a mid-size event, whatever. Let's go out. Let's play this game. Let's have some fun, man.
Yeah.
This is no good, bro. I don't like just being cooped up playing net play and just raging on Twitter all the time. That's not fun. Let's go out and let's play some games. Let's have some fun, man. When all this is over. That's all. What about you, Ari?
I think you summed it up. I hope by the end of whatever we're going through right now and however long it takes, I hope that people come out of it with a good dose more empathy and gratitude. Gratitude's the big word.
Dude, it's crazy, man. This thing, you come to realize real quick what you take for granted, right?
Man.
Bro, even just something as simple as just chilling on the sofa with your boys playing some games, man. I'm like, damn, bro, even sports. You don't realize how much that has an effect on you.
Yeah.
And then it's gone, and you're like, shit. Dude, I called my grandma the other night. I'm like, dude, when this is over, I'm gonna tell you right now, grandma. I know you want me to be a good boy, get married and everything. I'm going wild when this shit. So you're gonna have at least 4 different grandkids with different moms. And I told her just like that. She was like, don't be like your cousin. And I was like, I no promise.
What's the lore on the cousin?
There
is no lore.
That's another combo. But y'all know what I'm trying to say, man. Let's get out, bro. When all this is over, everybody hunker down, take this shit seriously. Let's get out there, play some games after.
Hell yeah, man. Good vibes, man. Good times.
100%. Whenever that is, I cannot wait.
Let's get real stupid, but in a good way. Let's get real stupid.
When it gets to that point, like, yo, let's go ham. Let's go ham.
For sure.
Dude, I'll join you in that one for sure. Go back to old Julie, back when I used to party like crazy. Oh, damn. One more time.
100%. 100%. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on Fighting Words 2. It's been a real pleasure, honor having you guys here. It's been a blast. Thank you.
No, thanks for having us on, man. Your channel's really dope. I watch a lot of the stuff, pretty much everything you upload. Yeah, keep up the good work. Keep it moving, man. Like I said, it's valuable stuff.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like ever since meeting you at Evo Japan, like what, 3 years ago, when you fucking interviewed me, that which I still love to this day. You interviewed me at Evo Japan. We were talking about all kinds of stuff, in Tekken. I always love what you did, man. It was an honor to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me. Always wanted to do like some sort of discussion with you. So thank you.
You know what? When we talked, I remember we were both going on about katsu. We were going on about like there's some really good places for katsu pork in Tokyo, and there's one in Akihabara, I think, called Maru. Maybe I can't remember the exact name, but maybe Majin or Obama will know.
You talking about Katsudon?
Yeah, Katsudon. Yeah,
I love Katsudon.
The one in Akihabara, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but Boss might know.
Oh yeah, we'll have to
Boss person.
But look, next time you're here, we're all going out for a Katsudon.
Oh yeah.
Katsudon. Yeah.
Oh please, it's like my favorite food ever. So I would love to come back. Maybe Evo Japan, in the next 2 years or so. I definitely want to come back again.
For sure.
That'd be so sick. Have another interview. Screw it.
Yeah, let's do it. I couldn't actually make Evo Japan this year, but like whenever it's back on next time, I'm there for sure. I'm there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's ride this out in the meantime. Try to stay motivated to play our games and stuff like that in the meantime. It's hard. It's hard, I think, for in general, but
it's very
You got to keep that motivation.
Absolutely.
Keep it moving.
Absolutely, man.
Well,
stay safe, you guys.
You too, man. Stay safe. Take care. Chat, thanks for tuning in. Pleasure having you here too. And
be good, guys.
See you next
Have
time.
a good one, folks. See you later.